AVGL SMITE Collegiate Championship match to be broadcast on AVGL, and I'm looking forward to seeing two great teams play today.
I am too. We got Georgia Tech taking on California State University Northridge. So GT versus CSUN. It's going to be a very exciting match. Got some very awesome, talented players for you guys in this first match of the day. We'll be getting to picks and bans very shortly, but like we said, this is the very first match casted on AVGL here for this season of the Collegiate SMITE League. Now, this is about match 4 for you, so there's a couple matches before this. But I'm excited to get into this first one. I got a couple of really good players that I'm looking forward to seeing. Who are you looking forward to seeing today?
I'm looking forward to seeing how Georgia Tech's mid and jungle play together. I know that Georgia Tech recently had a role swap. Their old solo laner is now playing in the jungle. And I'm interested in seeing how he performs in the jungle in his new role. I know it's something he's not as used to.
Role swaps are definitely hard. Team that I play for just recently went through a couple of them. Mid and jungle switching around, solo mid carry. It was a little bit of a jumbled mess. They ended up resetting back to what they originally wanted to. But on the other side of things with CSUN, I'm really looking forward to seeing Weck and Savisaur play today. Those are two players I've caught in the ranks scene a little bit, and they're pretty awesome. So I'm very excited for this matchup today.
Me as well. Do you remember if there might be a Savvy special? I don't know. Maybe there's a guy they really like.
I'm not going to review any strats for them today. Maybe another day, but not quite today. Now, we'll be going ahead and getting a best of 3. Georgia Tech will be first pick, first ban here in this set. And then this next game of this set will be opposite. So CSUN will have that first pick advantage. Now, with the AVGL, we do have quite a lot of other teams. We keep liking to look for other games as well. And if you guys don't want to watch this game, you obviously should be here. Other streamers will be doing their own game as well in case you don't want to watch the Georgia Tech CSUN match. But I mean, come on, this is going to be like the top of the top right now. This is going to be absolutely fantastic with a lot of picks and bans here today for you guys. Beatles, what kind of gods are you looking to ban away here today? Either from both sides, maybe ones that you like in general I think are really good that other players just like, okay, come on, you really just said they need to ban Loki type of thing?
Yeah, I think that these are two teams that might not know the most about each other. So I'm expecting to see a lot of standard meta bans, things like Tsukuyomi, Persephone, maybe Sun Wukong. I can't imagine them going too far out into like a target ban, because I just don't think these teams know that much about each other. I know Georgia Tech enjoys picking the Sun Wukong and Guan Yu for the solo laner, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw any of those picked or banned away from them.
Fair. I have heard a lot about this Guan Yu pick by a couple of other teams. Do you think this is a really good pickup that's like kind of come out in the meta now after watching Variety play that for Renegades a couple of matches, a couple of other solo laners have been playing? I think it's a really good pickup.
I think it actually is really good in a similar way that Cerberus is good. Just having the protection shred on the 3 is so strong for Guan Yu. It makes it very easy to take down one target, especially a tanky one. And of course, his cavalry charge makes it really easy to get into the back line and to dive on any poor hunter or mid in the back.
His cavalry is pretty good. You got to look at his horse. His horse is amazing. There's a couple other characters with their horses, such as Hachiman. I've heard a lot about him coming in to the meta, and people saying he's very, very strong right now. How do you feel about the other mounted cavalry?
I really like Hachiman right now. I feel like against a Rama, he can bring out pretty good pressure in those early levels. It's difficult oftentimes to fight a Rama that early because he can just instantly clear the wave. But Hachiman's banner makes it easy to clear, and it makes it easy to fight. He's very easy to be aggressive on because you can always stun into the 2. And I think it's a tough matchup for Ram sometimes. And he's also just always really safe. But I would not actually be, I know for a fact that Mongol Hunter, Georgia Tech's ADC, is a big Chiron fan. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that horse hunter come out.
That would be a very spicy off pick since Chiron's not very highly contested in the AVGL currently. It's mostly that Rama or the Cupid. I've seen a little bit of the Heimdall as well. But other than that, I think a couple Hois have been played, but not too much else. It's kind of just like the 4-pick pool for a lot of those ADC players. Not too many magical ADCs either. Do you think those magical ADCs have kind of fallen out of the meta?
They certainly have. Ever since Ring of Hecate got nerfed and it lost the additional healing boosts it gave, it makes picking those magical ADCs a lot harder, I think. I think Olaron in particular is still good just because his ultimate is one of the best ults in the game. But Freya, we don't see really any Freya. Sol and Kronos have never even saw favor, even with Hecate. So I don't think we'll see any of them today. But another hunter I would like to highlight is who recently got a few buffs is on her. His escape is now, or his leap is much quicker, so it's easier to fight and box in lane. I would not be surprised. And his Desert Fury is just always so good. We've seen him played in the SBL by Dardes. Wait, no, not by Dardes, by Cherio in the jungle. I don't think we'll see the jungle on her come out for either of these teams, but maybe one of the hunters will take it.
Yeah, I've had a couple friends that have been playing a lot on her jungle, and they've been telling me it's really good. But I do really like his matchup into Cupid, one of those other top tier hunters. So nice little counteractive. Same into that Oleron. You can kind of just immune that time dilation ultimate by that Oleron. Now, moving a little bit to a different part of the map, I want to take a look at the jungle here, because the jungle picks, I think, are the most volatile picks, as in some of the top tier ones can either perform very, very well, or they can just go 0-17 and feed their entire brains out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking at like the Tsukiyomis, the Nemesises, Hoonbats has been up there as well quite a bit. I've seen a lot. Kali's I've seen played, Bakusuras. I don't think I've seen any Arachnes yet in AVGL. I could be wrong. Have you seen any AVGL Arachnes yet?
I have not. I think Arachne is pretty difficult to play well. I think Arachne is a type of god you want to play when, one, you're amazing at the game, like Sino is for Obey.
True.
Or two, you're playing against people who you think are not as good, like who you think are worse than you. Like if you're smurfing, you might play Arachne just because that's the role where she succeeds the most in. I think she's really vulnerable. She's not the best at ganking. She doesn't do the most late game. I would be pretty surprised if we saw her pick today. I do agree that picking a Tsukuyomi or Nemesis is super dangerous, just because Tsukuyomi's all damage. So if he gets behind a few levels, he really can't do anything, because his damage won't be keeping up with anything. His light CC of a small stun on the 2 isn't significant enough to really make him a controlled jungle like Hunbats. So I think that's a dangerous pick.
Yeah, I definitely think Tsukuyomi has his bright spots, but also has his pretty good counters. So there's a couple high-end junglers that we're probably looking to be either recontested, just like those ADCs, or just completely banned away because nobody wants to play them. And another one of those guys that we've seen kind of like that is Persephone. Either don't ban her because you want to play her and you have a good Persephone, or you ban her because you don't have a good Persephone and you don't want to play against her. What do you think about that? Is that pretty accurate?
I think that is 100% accurate. There is no god in the game as infuriating to play against as Persephone at the moment. She does 1 billion damage with all of her abilities. Her ultimate is one of the hardest mage ults to deal with, just because it does a lot of damage if you get hit by it. The CC it provides is enormous. It can lock 5 people on a team at once. It's just such a pain to deal with.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. Just getting 5-man death grass, man. Oh, that never feels good. You're either everyone turning on to auto it, or you're all just gonna sit there for a little bit if you don't have any relics up. What's a couple other of those top tier mid laners that you're expecting to either be contested today by these two teams, or just banned away in general?
I think we'll probably see a god like Hera try to be prioritized by both these two teams. I know she's been rising a lot in popularity in SPL, and it wouldn't surprise me if we saw a similar rise here. She just brings a lot of damage with her abilities. Argus, of course, is like another god in and of itself. I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw Hebo, who can just bring a bunch of carry potential from the get-go. He does, got a 3 ults. He can do a ton of damage with all of his abilities.
Yeah, 3 ults is always fun. We're going to go ahead, though, and take a quick little break right before we get into these picks and ban, guys. We'll see you very, very shortly.
in work on the base, put in work on it. I put in work on the base, put in work on it. I put in work on the base. I put in work on the base, put in work on it. I put in work on the base, put in work on the base, put in work on it. I put in work on the base. What's up?
We are back. Sorry about that. Just taking a couple little technical difficulties right before we get in. Now, Beatles wanted to talk about one more jungler, but before we do that, we're going to go ahead and get right into the picks and bans and not make you guys wait any longer.
Now, hopefully I'll get the chance to talk about the jungler right now in picks and bans.
Yeah, who was it? Don't let the viewers waiting. Let them know.
I would love to see one of these two teams pick up the Erlang Shen. I think he is one of the strongest junglers in the game right now. He has everything you want. He has great setup. He has great damage. He can do anything you want. And I would love to see it picked by either of these two teams.
Now, Georgia Tech went ahead and banned away that Yemoja first. We never really got to talk about those supports, but I mean, it's Yemoja. She's going to have buttons, and she's going to be annoying all game long. So very, very strong pick here by Georgia Tech right away. Because even if either of those teams got it, you gotta be able to play Emoji at any level of competitive Smite.
Emoji is just so difficult to deal with. The Mending Waters is annoying. Her portals are annoying. The Riptide's annoying. She does everything. She does damage. She does healing. She does control. I mean, she's one of the hardest supports to deal with in the game.
100%, especially late game. I played the Emoji the other day because one of my friends was like, hey, just play support. And I sat late game, about 40 minutes in, giggling as I pressed my 2 key over and over again as I healed my jungle Tsukiyomi as he kept going. Now, a Kuzumbo banned out here by CSUN. Now, you think this is a solo lane, a support, a target ban to one of those two players, or just because they think Kuzumbo is strong even with his recent nerf?
I think CSU's probably thinking that Kuzumbo is just a hard god to deal with, and he certainly is. I mean, he's the most troll support in the game, and that everything he does is just like a little bit troll. Like his CC's a little troll, and then he'll take one person, he'll push them like way far away from where they were, or his main other form of CC is a big spread around ability that just like doesn't really like knock you up like the way a Geb 2 or Sylvanas ult does, but it's just a lot of tiny knockups. Troll god to deal with, but good support.
Very true. Now, sticking with Guardians, Cthulhu being banned out now as well, and I can't really imagine this being a support ban, definitely looking towards the solo lane side of things. So Georgia Tech taking out a top-tier support and a top-tier solo laner. CSUN so far having a nice little flex pick ban, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think they have an opportunity to really try to go for something that they want. Georgia Tech might be forced into banning a Persephone, so that might leave open 1 or 2 picks that CSU wants to go for.
Definitely hard to tell where they're leaning as of right now. But with the ROM being banned out, looks like CSUN wants to take a look at those top ADCs that we had mentioned earlier. Now, with 2 ban slots left, they probably, one of the teams could ban out the Cupid and force everyone to pick a little bit lower on that ADC tier list. And maybe we will get to see maybe an Oleron today, depending how these bans go. But we're going to go ahead and see that Persephone, just like you called, to remove her from the mid lane.
It's not surprising to see CSU take away the Cupid after they ban Rom, because either you leave Cupid open and you can't get Rom yourself, and then you have to deal with a hunter, so they have to take it away.
So they ban the top 2 hunters, and that lets Georgia Tech go ahead and lock in the Tsukiyomi. And CSUN respond by first picking a Ganesh. How do you feel about a first pick Ganesh followed by a Heimdall?
I feel like you probably could have gotten Ganesh somewhere later in the draft, but he is an incredibly great support. I mean, he might not be the most flashy in terms of his CC, but the Ohm, or his silence, is super difficult to deal with. His cage is really good. His dash knockup is pretty good setup. And Heimdall, of course, is one of the top ADCs right under Cupid and Rom.
Definitely agree with that. So Ganesh and Heimdall dual lane, very, very strong early pressure. I mean, Heimdall kind of hurts a little bit with that clear of those autos with either his 1 or his 2, whichever you elect to get. But Ganesh can make up for that with that first ability. And then a Morrigan being locked in for Georgia Tech. And, you know, the first thing I see right here is double Tsukiyomi, followed by an Honor, either 2 Tsukiyomis, 2 Desert Furies. That's pretty strong.
Yeah, this is Georgia Tech has a comp that really wants to go after and kill you. They're not going to wait around and play this like whole extended team fight. They're going to pick one target and try to kill him right away. I mean, Tsukiyomi and the Morrigan combine so well to just drive straight into the back line. On her as well can reach the back line with Desert Fury, piercing through the entire team fight. I like the damage that they've brought out.
I think Georgia Tech is very happy with their top 3, which means they're looking for their solo and support once we get into that second half. But CSUN's still looking for and it looks like they're going to elect for their jungle pick here, picking up that Nemesis to go against that Tsukiyomi. Do you like Nemesis here into these 3 squishier targets, or else going to shred protections? But they don't have a lot of tankier targets picked out yet.
Well, they might not have a lot of tanky targets picked up yet, but you got to think that they're going to pick a tanky support and a tanky solo laner, so you'd expect to get some value out of the Nemesis. But I sort of agree. I think Tsukiyomi has a decent matchup against Nem, because as soon as she pops the shield, he can try to stun or disarm her, and that'll get rid of it. So it's not the easiest matchup for her, but Nem's still one of the top junglers in the game. It's not surprising to see her picked.
Yeah, I definitely think both teams came away with something they're pretty much happy with here for the first half of P's and B's. Now, Sobek being banned away from CSUN, trying to limit those support picks from Georgia Tech. And I really like the Sobek. I talked about it off stream earlier with a couple of my friends. I think Sobek is probably the best support behind Umoja.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Sobek brings good damage for a support. He has great CC. Pluck is really, I think, one of the best setup tools in the game, just because you can take any target and instantly make them out of position. And it works really well with Georgia Tech's comp, because Georgia Tech doesn't have a lot of AoE damage yet, so picking out one target it works really well for them.
Very true. Now, Ra and Amaterasu being banned out by Georgia Tech, and Guan Yu finishing up CSUN's ban. So a couple of these picks talked about earlier, a couple of them not, but CSUN's going to go ahead and lock in the Cerberus, so they're going to go ahead and pick up that double Guardian comp here. I would assume this Cerberus is going to the solo lane. Would you agree?
You have to imagine. I mean, I don't think any of us are expecting to see a Ganesh solo. So Cerberus is the only place that makes sense, but it might be scary to pick Cerberus and you don't know really what you're going to be, who your opponent's going to be. I'm curious to see what Georgia Tech takes for their solo laner now. It's important to note that Sun Wukong's still open, and he's always a very safe and top tier solo laner right now.
So we'll see if they're trying to maybe bait them into picking that Sun Wukong with the Cerberus, or maybe they want them to pick something else. So we'll see how that looks. Now, keeping an eye on CSUN's draft, they're still looking for their mid laner, unless, of course, they're going to run a mid Ganesh or a mid Cerberus, but I can't really imagine that. But Nike, looking like Georgia Tech's going to pick that one up. I like that matchup into Cerberus. She's got a little bit of disrupt that goes ahead and can stop some of what Cerberus wants to do.
Yeah, Nike's a great pickup. She's one of the safest solo laners in the game. She's basically impossible to kill. I mean, if you ever get her low, she can always just pop the ult and then use her 3 to run away. And I'm curious to see what they're going to take for their last pick.
I am too. So they're either looking for their support, which is going to go ahead and be the Athena here to round out Georgia Tech's draft. Now, what do you think about this Georgia Tech draft? Do you think that Athena complements the rest of the team on what they want to do? Or you think it's kind of a, yeah, it works here, but it's not what they wanted type of thing, where they wanted that Sobek? Where do you think this falls?
I think Athena's probably, her setup is always great. The ability to rotate across the map is great. But I don't feel like this is the best use of Taunt. When I imagine Taunt, I imagine it being followed by a Poseidon ult or a Medusa ult or some big AoE damage. And Georgia Tech just doesn't really have any AoE damage. They're very single target focused. So I would have liked to see a more single target support. Of course, they couldn't pick up the Sobek, or the Ganesh, so I'm not sure who they go for right away, but it's a little bit, it doesn't match the rest of the comp's feel to me.
Yeah, to me, it seems like they want to be diving into the back line, have double Tsukiyomi, have an Anher sitting in the mid lane or mid part of the team fight, having like either jumping on the back line or jumping by the Anher to protect him. And then there's the Athena, which she could just go ahead and ultimate onto one of those Tsukiyomis, jump into the front line and, just do a lot of damage when she comes down. But Baron Samdi being picked up for the mid laner for CSUN now. Baron's had a little bit of a rise too. He's one we didn't quite talk about. Baron's Brew is always good. He did just get a little bit of a buff. How do you feel about him right here?
I like the Baron here. I mean, CSU, I was worried about their CC after the top 3, but they followed up with 2 CC heavy gods. Baron can bring great damage. His heals are great. His slow to root is a strong CC, and his ult, of course, gives him a lot of damage and stun potential for any target. I admit I was not expecting them to pick Baron, but after seeing the pick, I really like it.
I do as well, especially if you can get that snake off before that Morrigan goes invisible. That's going to help quite a bit into that first lane. And I was kind of surprised they picked the Morrigan after that Heimdall, since Heimdall does have a little bit of a counter into her, but it's Morrigan. She's going to have double Tsukiyomi all. Do you want to trade out that for Heimdall Vision or not? So I think that overall was a very, very good pickup. Now, just kind of looking at the basis of these drafts, which way are you leaning for right now? I'm not quite sure what I like more. If I like double Tsukiyomi alts or if I like Cerberus alt into Dharmic Pillars, because that's a lot of damage.
I think I prefer CSU's draft a little bit more. I think the lack of Baron doesn't do the most damage, of course, but
We're going to go
I think
ahead
I
and
like
hop
their
right
comfort
into this game for you guys. Sorry to cut you off a little bit there, Beatles. Let's not wait for this match any longer. We're going to go ahead and hop right in here. Georgia Tech versus CSUN. First match of our AVGL Life of Streaming. Match number 4 overall. I want to get started over here in the dual lane with Mongol Hunter and Wet Village. And, you know, I really like this Baron into Morgan, as we were talking a little bit about earlier. And we talked a little bit about that Nike and Cerberus. I'm very excited to see how this game goes ahead and plays out here. Now, thankfully, nothing cheeky so far into this game. We always like to see when no one's going for a 4-man purple buff invade, because those are never fun no matter what side you are on.
It's somewhat interesting to note that West Village, the Morrigan, is going for this somewhat greedy power boots rush, where you usually back in them by Warrior's Blessing afterwards. It's not the easiest to pull off because you don't get a good setup setup item like Mage's Blessing or the tier 1 Chronos Pendant, but I think it matches the Morrigan's playstyle because you want to be fast moving around the map as much as possible as her, so I like to see it.
I do too. I definitely think that's a good start. I've seen that a little bit with some solo lane magical pickups, and you know, I wouldn't have been surprised to see if our Cerberus did that here, but I agree with you that Morrigan's very, very nice looking there with those boots coming online earlier. And with the Tsukiyomi in the jungle, it won't hurt them too much either. Now, in the solo lane, we got a little bit of a fight. There's the knock-up that I was talking a little bit about earlier. Missing the stun here from the Cerberus, which will allow the Nike to go ahead and get that wave and start looking for a totem early here for her team. And, you know, an early totem always feels really good.
Yeah, you always want to pick up that totem of Ku for your mid lane, or else you can expect to be yelled at a bit. A bit awkward to see Georgia Tech 4-man split the Oracles. It's not the most optimal way to be splitting them, but they're happy they got the vision nonetheless.
True, and I think that totem's definitely going to feel really good for that Morrigan, who did elect to go to those power boots immediately. I think they're very, very happy their solo laner went ahead and picked that up. Now, I'm very excited to see which team ends up getting these rotates off earlier and how they both elect to push the map here. A little bit of warding, very aggressive here already from CSU. They've got a couple of wards on the map already, looking towards this left-hand side of the map. So maybe that's either intending that they want to pressure out this left and mid side and kind of letting solo do their own thing, or if they want to go ahead and just be known for where everyone's coming from, watching for those red invades or those purple invades. That way they go ahead and have a little bit of a tech head up on that. Now a little bit of a 3-man fight over here. Beats popped off by the Heimdall. Not going to have that Bifrost to get him out of this. Very, very low. He's going to go ahead and fall to Zexy here on the Tsukiyomi. So first blood going the way of Georgia Tech. A very smart rotation. Looked for a red buff that wasn't there. Came over to dual lane, went ahead and got that kill.
It was a bit unfortunate for Diminish there on the Heim. He must have just used a 3 to teleport around the map a bit, and so as soon as they saw the rotation, he tried to get it, but he just couldn't get in. You know, he ends up falling to Tsukiyomi damage, as hunters are often do in the early game.
And they also got his beads there, so Blue probably is going to be looking to come right back over this dual lane. Very short on now. Looking for some pressure here by CSUN to the right side. Got the Nike jump down, but Mike's just going to go ahead and pressure out this blue buff. Or take their own blue buff. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this a little bit backwards. So they're just going to confirm this instead of aggressing onto that Nike here a little bit earlier on, who does not have the ultimate yet. So could have been a very optimal gank, but nevertheless, going to go ahead and just play it a little bit safer, which is probably a little bit smarter.
Yeah, you love to see CSU immediately respond on the right side of the map. They go ahead and take away W Taker's blue buff, and they end up getting it for Cerberus himself.
Very much so agree. Now, Life of the Party used, and is going to go ahead and reward him with some Morgan beads here. So now, dual lane and mid are going to be missing some relics, one from each side. So we'll see where these junglers want to prioritize their time. If Georgia Tech wants to come back over to this dual lane side, or if they want to pressure out the mid lane on the CSU side as well.
Yeah, we've already seen Wet Village join West Village in the mid lane as he's made his way out of the dual lane and into mid.
Yeah, I really love that. Just let that on her, get as much farm as he can. Let an early game character kind of just take the reins and get a little bit farther ahead if he can, especially if CSU doesn't respond by sending their support into the mid lane. That's going to let Honor take a little bit of a 2v1, so kind of a disadvantage, but he's going to XP faster than they will at that point. So very, very smart decision by Georgia Tech here to start moving that mid lane around. Now Nike looking for a little bit of an invade, but she's going to go ahead, not see anything for blue buff, and kind of check those back camps, see if she's going to find any prizes there. It doesn't look like she'll find anything. Now Georgia Tech pressuring this left side of the map again. I'm going to look for a little bit of a purple buff invade. And they're going to go ahead and find this as the CSU ADC is back in base. Heimdall went ahead and backed for his full boots, which for Heimdall, it's huge. You know, you love that on him.
Yeah, getting your full boots is great. I think it's a bit unfortunate that Mongol Hunter decided to rush his Devourer's Gauntlet, which means he's going to be getting his stacks up earlier. So at the point where Diminished finishes his Devourer's Gauntlet and Mongol Hunter finishes his boots, Mongol will just have more stacks. But I want to highlight Wet Village's start. This is something I haven't actually seen before in the Insta Rush Relic Dagger. You expect this to mean that he wants to get in. Oh, and he uses a blink to try to stop life of the party, but
a very smart ultimate by the Morgan going to the Nike. Go ahead and whip that out. Mech's going to pick up Zexy Zealot, and Wet Village going to pick up Savvy Store. So 1-for-1 trades so far here in this early game team fight. West and Wet Village both getting out with barely any health. A little bit of rotation over from the Nike to come in here, and a very well done fight initially by Georgia Tech to go ahead try to find that Morgan, but a very good job by her to go ahead and get out of that. Now looking on the left side here, Athena's gonna go ahead and ult in on to Mongol Warrior or Mongol Hunter, sorry, and they're gonna pressure it out. Now Athena gonna go ahead and find a nice little taunt. They have a nice little rotate here by CSU to stop any more aggression on to their other players.
Important to note that Mongol Hunter managed to hold on to his bees that entire engagement. The Athena ult just proved to be a little too tough for Nemesis to deal with, I guess.
Yeah, you don't really want to take any of that Athena damage when she comes crashing out of the sky and has her full combo ready to go for you, especially if you're Nemesis. You don't want anyone free poking you too much. But that'll be enough of the aggression for the moment. A couple pings coming out on the map. They want to look for those right side XP camps, see if they can get those before CSUN can get them as well. A little bit of another grouping here on this right side XP camp. So I'm not going to find any more engagements for the moment. These mid 3v3s are what I'm very excited about.
Yeah, I really want to see a lot of action. It looks like Nemesis and Cerberus are going for another blue buff invade.
Now, Tsukiyomi's going to go ahead and ultimate in straight onto that. Nemesis getting very, very aggressive. Nemesis dropping the ult right back down. And Cerberus is going to go ahead and not find that, or we'll find that kill, but on the other side of things, looks like Baron picked up the jungle from CSUN as well. And now West Village is in a very awkward spot with the Morgan. Oh, finds a nice little double stun there to go ahead and peel for herself. But oh, what a shot from Cher to go ahead and clean West Village up. And now the pressure is on. Support running, both supports running away with absolutely no help. They're going to go ahead and get out. And now it's a 2-on-1 onto the solo laner. Savvy Sword just going to go ahead and leave for the moment and let the solo laners go back to having their wet noodle fight.
I don't know if I'd call Cerberus as a wet noodle right now. He's swinging for a ton of damage. He took out Tsukuyomi with his ult damage. He chunked W Taker on the Nemesis with the Cerb spit. He is swinging for a lot of damage right now, and he's got a 2-level lead on W Taker. That's a big lead to deal with in the solo lane.
That's very well done by that Cerberus to go ahead and get ahead of a little bit of an earlier game Nike, I would say. Having that early clear for her is pretty good. I wonder how he managed to do that. Maybe found a couple invades, found a little bit of XP help on a proxy, maybe found a little bit of a back camp steal, or just shared a little bit more XP.
I think most of it came from the initial MWEC gank and rotation on the blue buff invade for taking it away from W Taker. It gives Cerber a good bit of XP and denies some from Nike.
Very true. Blue buff invades very, very important for that solo laner to find that advantage as well. Now, what I wanted to say a little bit earlier was I'm really looking forward to these mid 3v3 engagements. You know, Athena into Morrigan and into Tsukiyomi going against Life of the Party, Dharmic Pillars, Nemesis, all like. One of them's very high damage. Now, on the other side of things, we got a solo kill. Cerberus taking down the Nike. Now we've got a little bit of a grouping here on the left side of the map. Tsukiyomi's going to ult in. Georgia Tech getting really aggressive right now. Nemesis ult's dropped in. Dharmic Pillars go down. Mongol Hunter is going to go ahead and find the Ganesh on the back side of things. Now the return could be coming out. To the sky goes one of the players. As Tsukiyomi finds Baron as well. Athena rejoins the fight, hits a nice little taunt. XZL going to find the double kill in this fight. Now Georgia Tech looking to try to just disengage with Red Village. Not feeling too good after that engagement. Still finding quite a lot of picks. But Cher is here. And oh man, the Heimdall taking down the Tsukiyomi on the backside of things as well. They needed to disengage it a little bit earlier than that.
I think they were probably scared of the Cerberus, who's coming in from the mid lane just a bit late, but I really liked seeing West Village ult into the big fed Cerberus, because it gives Georgia Tech a needed boost of CC and a surprising amount of magical damage.
Yeah, I think Morgan's got tons of fantastic ultimates here. She already showed it earlier going into that Nike to get that extra shield and maybe survive a little bit of an earlier gank. You saw it there with the Cerberus. Quite the great ultimates, meaning the second Tsukiyomi ult that we talked a little bit about earlier, second Desert Fury. She's got a lot of options that are phenomenal. And, you know, Morgans are annoying to deal with, but good Morgans, those are the worst.
Morgan is really the modern day Loki now that Loki's gone. She's the god most akin to his spirit and style of play. I mean, you pick one target, you stealth up, do all of their damage, you know, all their HP in 1 or 2 hits, and then you become a tanky tank, and there's nothing that they can do to stop it.
Yeah, especially a tanky tank like Nike or Cerberus, where you're still swinging even with a lot of that tankiness. Now, Oracle's respawning here, and Georgia Tech's going to be on them first with no contestation coming out from CSUN. They've still kept this game very close, 6-6, 11 minutes in, so everything's going back and forth. A little bit of an XP and gold lead towards Georgia Tech, but not a lot. Most of that XP difference, I believe, was still coming from that solo lane matchup with the Cerberus being on top of the Nike. But on the other end of things, support diff, man. Got Athena up 2 on Ganesh.
I think support is probably the one lane where if you want there to be a delete or a difference in XP or gold, you probably want it to be in support. But the amount of tankiness that you get per level as a support, like the durations that increase whenever you upgrade each level, or each ability for each level, it's a significant amount. And I bet Athena's happy to have a fully leveled taunt.
Yeah, that's going to feel really good for the rest of her team, too. And they're like, all right, cool. We're looking at a full stun Ganesh or a full Athena taunt. I know which one I'm going to be leaning towards here, but looks like CSUN's looking towards his left side of the map a little bit more. All 4 players are grouping up. Could be a little bit of a Gold Fury dance here very, very shortly, depending which team wants to aggress first. Solo lane are still just trying to get as big as they can, so when they rotate and impact these team fights, it's going to be a lot of damage.
It's interesting to see the Nike not pick up Thorns this game. Normally it's a go-to second relic for almost every solo laner, and we've seen Cher pick it up, but W Takers decided to opt for this beads instead, worried about CSU's CC.
Do you think these beads are warranted even with that ultimate from the Nike, since nobody really got asunder? I mean, is the Baron life of the party and Snake combo and Cerberus all really that detrimental to these guys?
I think it can be, and we've already seen W Taker take an unfortunate death to that Cerberus, so I can't blame him for picking it up, especially if your ultimate's down, you're wide open to a ton of CC from CSU. Life of the party, while not so much of a threat when you have beads, can be really frustrating as a tank when there's nothing you can do to avoid it.
Very true. Now, something I want to look at right now in the ADCs, we have, I mean, you saw it right there, some crit being built into this on her, whereas Heimdall's looking for that Odysseus's bow. I've seen both of these builds fully completed, and I like both of them in their respective cases, but do you think crit is going to feel a little bit better into some of these characters than the full pen attack speed build?
I think it depends on the matchup you're in, but with the style of comp that Georgia Tech has drafted, picking up this crit on her, which is still a difficult thing for me to say, but picking up this crit on her makes it really easy to focus down one target because you just need 1 or 2 autos to really take him out. So I like to see it, whereas we've seen Heimdall pick up a more team fight oriented build.
Yep. Now Nike go ahead and ulting in here as they're going to start looking for this Gold Fury. It's dropped down to half. Cerberus ulting in. Morgan ulting in as Cerberus. Dharmic Pillar is dropped. Now Athena ulting in. And Savvy Star is going to find the first kill of this engagement on that Morgan. Nike going to the backside to look for something here. Cerberus picks up Wet Village, and Athena will be the second to fall. 2 for 1 so far for CSUN. Now they're going to find the Aegis here on the Tsukiyomi, and a nice shot from the Cerberus will stun him out for now. But W-Taker on the backside, finding a nice little kill onto 2 players back there. And Mwek finding a double kill in this team fight as well. And it's still going. So far, 3 for 2 in favor of CSUN. And we're going to see if CSUN can keep it up. They really want Mongol Hunter here. Nemesis going to the back line and finding everything. Beads out from the on here, and he's going to go ahead and fall. Now Mwek with barely any health. Can the boys peel for him? There's the beads coming out from the Nike. They're all going in. Not going to quite find the stun for the moment. Very, very low. Couple jukes out from the Nemesis. Very low. And he's going to fall to W-Taker. So he's going to trade out his life for the opposing jungler. So all in all, a 4 for 3, if I am correct on that. And you know, with all of that happening, XP is now in favor of CSUN by just a slim margin, but Gold still just leaning towards Georgia Tech's way after that team fight.
Cougarhead using his Ohm to stop the Nike Rend was a very impressive timing situation, because he did it right before it would have killed Moek, and you love to see your support make good plays like that. But you also like the fact that Georgia Tech managed to take a fight that looked like it was going to be, you know, a wipe for CSU, and they get the Gold Fury, and they pulled it back a bit. So the game state didn't change too much as a result.
Very true. What started as a Gold Fury pull turned into a big team fight, and the Gold Fury is still looking at both teams, giggling like, hey, you guys started around me, but nobody wanted it after losing most of their team. They're trying to get a little bit aggressive on Morgan. A nice snake to get the Morgan wall in the invis, but it's going to be the end of that little skirmish between the 2 mid laners and by the Oracle Pit instead of in the mid lane where did you expect it to be.
And that's one of the abilities of Baron that makes this such a difficult matchup for Morgan. I mean, Baron is happiest when people are right on top of him, because he can heal himself, he can life with the party and get a guaranteed stun, and that's exactly where Morgan wants to be, right next to him. So I think Savvy really found a great matchup with this Baron Samdi pick.
I agree a lot. Now the Gold Fury dance has started. CSUN in the aggressive positioning right now, but Georgia Tech does have the Oracle, so they're looking for it. Tsukiyomi going to the back line. Dharmic Pillars have been dropped. CSU Leverage are going to go ahead and confirm down the Gold Fury. Heimdall ulting out on the backside. Cerberus going in. There's Nemesis ult in there as well. Savvy Sora going to find the first kill. Mongol for the second. 1-for-1 trade so far. Mongol going to find a second kill. Cerberus picking up 1. Morgan finding on the backside of things. 3 for 2. 4 for 2 now with a double kill from West Village here. And now shares the only one left alive against 3 relatively healthy Georgia Tech players.
Yeah,
I can get out here.
Georgia Tech's more than happy to take this fight. It looks like they're going to... Oh.
Goodbye, West Village. Cerberus going to find a nice little shot there to just erase Morgan off the face of the earth right here. Now Athena's can go ahead and back, and W-Taker and Cher are the last 2 left in this little bit of an engagement. Well, W-Taker does have the health advantage, but Cher making the Cerberus look really good at 6-0-4 so far.
6-0-4 Cerberus. He's doing 1 million damage. His paralyzing spit did at least 1/3 of what West Village's HP. You got to think a fight that Georgia Tech was feeling really good about. They suddenly were in comms, all hype, and then they probably went silent as soon as Cerb hit that spit.
Yeah, but it was all like, just get Cerb, and then Cerb just goes, and they're like, I guess we run away now.
And that's the power of Cher's build here. He can use the Stone of Binding, which procs off of his Protection Shred, and then he goes straight into the stun, and he hits hard. He hits like a mage at this right now.
And that's scary having a very tanky mage coming out of the soul lane right now. But it wasn't all for nothing. CSU did go ahead and confirm that Gold Fury in the beginning of it, so they were very happy with that. And then with Cher coming in, picking up another one of the carries, pretty sure CSUN was happy with that trade all in all at the end of it.
Yeah, but again, we've sort of seen the game state not move too much from where it was before. CSU's happy, of course, to take the Gold Fury, but we still got an even game 19 minutes in.
We love these ones. A long game with a lot of action are my favorite games to cast, because there's always something going on in this map. And another little bit of a group up here near the mid lane. Next objective, probably going to fight over. It could be the Pyromancer, or if a really good team fight breaks out for one side and they get a clean little sweep of at least 3 to 4 players, could be a Fire Giant call.
Yeah, you expect Fire Giant to be coming out, or Fire Giant fights starting to break out pretty soon.
Now, blink in here. The stun goes down. A lot going on. Life of the party. Dharma Pillars go out. Tsukiyomi ulting in. A lot of stuns happening. Nemesis going to go ahead and drop it onto the Nikes. They drop their shield. A lot of slows coming out too now from that Baron Snake. The insanity is starting to build up. Cerberus blinking in. Shares coming in with a little bit of an ultimate. And down goes Athena. Chase about instantly. West Village is going to find a nice little Life of the party. But Heimdall comes into the backside and is going to take a trade a little bit farther, and then go ahead and get that ultimate off to remove one of those players from the battlefield for the moment, and he's going to come back down to a lot of damage. Mongol Hunter not going to find his life after that. Now, a very clean 3-for-0, as we were just talking about here for CSUN. They're going to move over to this Fire Giant pit.
Yeah, that was just such a great fight and rotation by Cher over, and he does so much. Even though he whiffed on the ult, he got a lot of beads, and he made Georgia Tech back up. But we're going to see W-Taker try and contest this fire, but he's a little low.
And he's going to try to contest it into a Nemesis, who is like, hey, I'll hit the Fire Giant till Nike comes in, and then I'm just going to, do that and go kill her and remove her to the battlefield to make it almost a full 5, but just 4 for now. CSU's going to go ahead and get that basically for free at this point, as, you can't really step up as Georgia Tech to defend that one.
And now it's up to CSU to really... So far, we've seen CSU kind of respond to what Georgia Tech does, but now we want to see them try and take fights at these towers. And I want to see Georgia Tech try to defend, at least on the tier 2s. The game is still pretty even in terms of gold. There's no reason to not take a fight at your tier 2 at this point.
Yep, it's about a 3K gold lead here for CSU, but as Mifflin will say, it's a 10K gold lead with Fire Giant on them, so about a 13K gold lead, and according to Mifflin's standards, about 2,800 to be specific right now. So we'll see where CSUN elect to go first, if they want to look to knock down that right tier 2, or if they want to start in the mid lane and try to get these T1s first. And it looks like they're going to elect to start in those mid laners. Now, W-Taker did just respawn, so he's coming from base, and Mongol Hunter is still trying to finish out that left lane farm. So it's going to be a 3v5 here in the mid lane, and Cher is just going to W key in to this tower line to say, hey, we're taking this T2 as well. But Nike going to go ahead and jump into the backside. Athena hitting a nice 4-man taunt. Oh my goodness, what a lot of damage. Athena getting a double kill. Cher is going to pick up one to return it. Oh my gosh, that Athena taunt was insane. Mongol Hunter is going to find the Ganesh on the backside of things. Cher is just going to try to get out with his life, but I don't think it's going to happen. These crits are ringing true. W-Taker going to find that kill, and it's a 4-for-1, or a 5-for-1, I'm sorry, trade for Georgia Tech, the clean DS side.
I think Mifflin might have to reevaluate how much of a lead he thinks Fire Giant is, because that did not look like a team that was 10K up in gold. That looked like a team that was maybe down 10K in gold. I mean, I think West Village hit at least 4 with with the Morrigan stun. I mean, he had so much damage off that Athena taunt. And I said at the right beginning of this cast that I didn't love the Morrigan follow-up off of an Athena taunt. I was wrong. That was impressive. That was a great fight by Georgia Tech. They have the lead. They're going to get the Skull Fury, and at least 2 more towers, probably. Oh, wait.
My favorite thing is when players make us eat our words, and my favorite thing that the Primal Fury will do is say, oh, you put a pillar up? Let me just walk over this and just take it out of the fight right now. But yeah, what a play by West and Wet Village there. 4-man Morrigan and Athena taunt stun. Oh my gosh, that hurts. And that's just CSUN grouping up and not fighting spread out there against an Athena and a Morrigan.
And W-Taker had a great initiation. Blinking in and jumping and then blinking in and then ulting right away, getting a slow off on 5 people, made it so easy for Wet Village to get in and get his taunt, and then for Morrigan to get the damage off. It was just a great fight all around by Georgia Tech.
Very well executed and good disruption from the Nike to force them into that grouping as well. And your support is like, I'm going in, I'm gonna taunt 4 people. I'm gonna lose my life for it, but I'm gonna taunt 4 people. I'm gonna take that trade every day of the week, no matter which way you cut that pie.
Yeah, as supports, you just gotta get in there. You gotta get your CC off, and Wet Village did his job there. That's all you can ask out of your support.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure his team's just, as soon as he hit that 4-man taunt, their eyes just lit up with excitement, especially after that 4-man Morrigan hit too. I mean, oof. So now Georgia Tech is going to go ahead and move into this left side tower. Nemesis is going to push up the mid lane here, so Mike trying to split push this T2 down. while they lose the T2 on the left side of the map. It looks like Mark's going to get it, and he's still going to be able to just kind of keep farming this jungle right now. Is Georgia Tech trying to lay a little bit, maybe of an ambush on the left side purple buff?
But Cher's not going to fall for it. He backs up, and they're just going to, and Georgia Tech's just going to go back to base.
Now, this game state has been going kind of back and forth here for the past 2 minutes. We had CSUN up a little bit, but now Georgia Tech up 3K.
3K, of course, not the biggest lead 25 minutes into the game, but
True.
Georgia Tech, it feels like they have the wind in their sails at the moment on the heels of a big fight victory.
Yeah, I bet Georgia Tech's very, very happy with that, and that's probably brought them back into the very excitable game state that they're in. Now, just one tower left here for CSUN on that right side soul lane of the map, but still 3 standing for Georgia Tech, 2 actually in the dual lane. So pushing that left side Phoenix after a Fire Giant by CSUN's going to take a little bit longer than they probably want to.
I like the build that Diminish has gone for. We've seen some pros go for a similar build, picking up this Berserker shield late, and you sort of build a lot of attack speed and then a little bit of defense at the end. It gives him a lot of penetration, a lot of attack speed, and he's just so good in team fights because you're constantly getting the Odysseus bow proc off. I'm a fan.
I absolutely love Berserker Shield. This is an item that I build so often. Now, Thorn's being popped by Cher. Looks like he wants to get a little bit of an engagement going. The rest of his team right behind him. He's going to jump in and just not find anything. But he's going to go ahead and blink and find the Athena. The Mongol Hunter's right around the corner trying to find any help. The Thorns popped. So the second Thorns doing damage now, but Savvy Sword's going to clean up Morgan on the backside. Downright Pillars go down on the Tsukiyomi. He's going to find the beads and the Aegis, and then the rest of Susun's just going to collapse right on top of him.
Yeah, Cher's decision to go ahead and he couldn't hit the whole team, but he could hit the support, and that was enough to bait Georgia Tech back in and take a fight that wasn't in their favor, and we see CSU take perfect advantage of it, and they might get an FG off it as well.
So once more, CSUN taking a good team fight that lets them go for this Fire Giant, but W Taker is here, and this time he's a little bit healthier, and there's no Mwek looking at him currently. Mwek's still coming in. He's going to blink in and look to just disrupt this team fight as much as he can. Jumps to the backside. Beads is out. The Heimdall ultimate. That's a very good ult, and drops his own. So now there's a little bit more of a team fight engage going on. Heimdall trying to back off and just find a little bit of safe healing, but Nike and Athena just doing the best they can to disrupt Ramon. A great pin by Mongol Hunter is going to go ahead and stop Mwek from going out the way that he wanted to, but no follow-up will be able to go for the moment. Nice little heal from that Baron. That conditional heal sometimes will just be a guaranteed heal depending how good your Baron player is, and Savisar is, just probably not going to miss that heal too much. A great Insanity there is going to stop it down, but Nemesis is going to drop the ult onto the Athena, but no follow-up we'll be able to find for the moment. Cher going in, finds a nice ultimate. Life of the Party comes out as well. Dharmic Pillar's back up and being dropped. Savisor is going to go ahead and find West Village here. W Taker trying to find his way out. Savisor is going to find the double kill here. And Mongol Hunter's just trying to find any return damage that he can with those crits. Another good Snake, doing a little bit more to Mongol Hunter, but he's going to go ahead and take the backside of this fight.
Yeah, I think if you told me earlier that Georgia Tech would take a 3v5 on Fire Giant, I of course would expect that CSU would come out on top, but Georgia Tech managed to push him back. They get the Pyromancer, and I think CSU had an opportunity to go for FG. I'm not sure if they're going to take it, though.
They might step back up here, having the 3-on-5 and some relatively healthy health bars, but Georgia Tech's 3 strong with full health bars, and the only one missing a little bit of mana is Mongol Hunter. So I'm sure they're very happy to take a little bit of an engagement here. Mwek on the right side trying to trade out with Mongol Hunter. Tsukiyomi going to ult him, but not hit Mwek here, but he's going to find the stun onto Cerberus. Looks like that's where they're going to go ahead with the team fight now as CSUN starts to collapse onto that jungle, but Athena find a nice little taunt to keep Ganesh locked in. Dharmic Pillars dropped, finding the nice little Pridwin proc here to keep himself alive after that Desert Fury. Is very big brain play from the support of CSUN.
Yeah, I've never seen Pridwin save someone's life before, and I guess it's an added feature of that ability that it does that the shield can be so valuable in such a clutch situation for him.
I also really love that pickup on Ganesh for how often his ultimate's up. You're going to pretty much get full use of that Pridwin every time you ult.
Yeah, and it's an ult that you got to be using early on in the fight, so you really make use of the Pridwin shield.
I agree. I really like that. But now the Fire Giant dance is going to restart here. Athena, the only one in position from Georgia Tech, because the rest of them are clearing off the map, and the on here is just going to solo down the Gold Fury. And with the crits, he should be able to do that quite easily. But as soon as that Gold Fury goes down, we'll see if CSUN elect to just pick up the Fire Giant immediately or try to take the 4-on-5 fight that they're pretty much guaranteed to have for about 20 seconds.
Yeah, I'd rather see them take the fight because we've already seen them try the FG, and that didn't work when it was a 5v3. And if they take, in 30 seconds or so, this Fire Giant's going to tick over into an EFG, and it'll be enhanced. It'll be way harder to take down for him.
That might actually be what both teams are waiting for now that you say that EFG is coming up very, very shortly. Now, I'm trying to just run away from W Taker and the Morrigan here. But as soon as that primal call, it looked like Cher wanted to fight, but just couldn't find anybody as Georgia Tech were just hiding behind those walls, waiting for their Honor to rotate over to this fight. Now, Cher's just trying to look around, try to find anything that he can, maybe call for an engagement as we're going to try to go ahead and group up Georgia Tech here for the moment. So Relic's still looking good, only Tsukiyomi missing his beads. They should be able to get out of this Cerberus ultimate, but after that, there's a lot more CC that could come following that Cerbalt.
Oh, yeah. Everything's up for both teams. The only thing that's down is Zexy Zealot's beads and the Ganesh shell, and that's it. This fight's going to be a true test of who can win a team fight, I guess.
We'll see who can play it cleaner. W Taker still going to the back line, trying to find as much poke damage as he can. Cher's going to get Athena taunted into the backside. Suki stunned out, taking about half his damage, while the Nike on the other side of things is diving into their back line. Tsukiyomi ult coming out now here, and the Nemesis ult was dropped down. Dharmic Pillars following up. Wex going to pick up West Village just about immediately as his team fights. Athena going to drop in and take down the Hunter, but Savisor is going to clean up Tsukiyomi. Savisor finding a double kill again, picking up the on her now too. So a 3-for-1 so far in the favor of CSUN, and they're going to go ahead and chase once more. A nice little slow here, and a great snake to go ahead and bring Wet Village back into the clutches of the team. Wex going to find that kill, and a 4-for-1 here, only losing their ADC, and we're going to see if they decide to go for the Fire Giant, chase out the Nike, or push these towers.
Although the one thing that goes well for Georgia Tech there is that they do manage to find Diminished with the Athena ult. And not having an ADC for your EFG push makes it much harder to get that big tanky objective, because it does a lot of damage. But I cannot believe how quickly West Village was erased. West didn't use his beads, his Aegis, or his ult. He just vanished off the map.
He just disappeared as soon as those ultimates were dropped. Now they're going to go ahead and go for the Phoenix here, and W Taker's going to do everything that he can against 4 players to try to slow/stop, but that Phoenix will fall, and now it is CSUN's turn to retreat from the tower, or the baseline of Georgia Tech.
Yeah, but if Georgia Tech can chase him out, they might be able to find something with Athena ult coming up soon, but I think CSU's probably going to get out just fine.
And W Taker's trying to stick close. Looks like Athena is up with the ultimate. Doesn't look like she's channeled it yet. Westfield just still trying to chase as much as he can. Sherry's going to turn on to this Nike. There's the Athena coming in, and now they're all just going to back up and say it was really for Newt right now. But Fire Giant getting poked up here by Georgia Tech. See if they're going to try to bait them in for another team fight around this FG.
It's also fortunate for Georgia Tech that CSU only took the right side Phoenix. It makes it easy to stay around this FG because you don't need to worry about minions because you can always just go clear them if they're right there.
Yeah, Nike about half health now. Still has Sentinel of Zeus, but Cher's going to pick him up and throw him in straight into that Baron ultimate, but the beads come out and Sentinel of Zeus, so Nike's going to have a little bit more health and protections for this moment in time, but CSUN are going to turn right to this FG.
I think this might be a bit of a dangerous pull. I mean, 3 of CSU's ults are down. This is a good fight for Georgia Tech, I think.
Georgia Tech going to go ahead and take it straight on to Cher, and he's going to pop his thorns into the back line. Tsukiyomi straight onto him. He's going to find that first kill. Nike jumping in. Going to find a stun on Diminished. He's going to use his ult to get out. Dharmic Pillars are going to help find that double kill for Zexy Zealot. Now, Weck on the backside is going to fall to Mongol Hunter, almost taking down W Taker. Savvy Sword trying to find something, but in a very awkward spot. Beach 8 is out, and West Village is going to find the shutdown kill onto Savvy.
And I think Georgia Tech's going to say, forget the Fire Giant. They might be able to end the game right here. All 5 are up. While they might not be the healthiest, it's not like Ganesh. You need to worry about Ganesh damage very much. I mean, that might just be game.
That's what they're looking like to call. 30 seconds still coming up for the rest of the team. W Taker's going to take proc here. Still has Sentinel of Zeus now after that ultimate cooldown has come off. And they're 100% looking to end here. There's Sentinel of Zeus. Athena ultimate coming straight down onto it. Knocker's on the backside onto Zexy. See if you can find anything, but they're just going to burn this Titan. Oh, look at the Nike's just saying no to Ganesh, dude. That feels so bad. But that's going to do it for game one. As Georgia Tech find a clean team fight here at the end to go ahead and run it down.
Yeah,
Game one.
It's interesting that Smites are such a game where you can be close all game, and then just one fight, and boom, it's over. Georgia Tech, yeah, I thought they were going to go get FG, and I bet that's exactly what CSU was thinking as well. But no, they took their opportunity to end, and they did.
A very good end by the boys in blue in this case, and they just went ahead and ran it down after a very clean 4-for-none team fight out around that FG. That was such a fire guy. Everyone's like, all right, we're gonna get EFG. This is gonna be pretty much the winning thing. We're gonna push down towers. Probably gonna be maybe a 3-for-2 trade, and then Georgia Tech finds a couple good ultimates, and that team fight just ends with Georgia Tech on top, and they had an open Phoenix in mid, and they just took it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what happened with the Heimdallr ult, because I saw him use it, but then I didn't see Tsukuyomi get, sent away. But regardless, Georgia Tech took a great fight, and they managed to end the game right off of it.
I think what happened there was Tsukuyomi beads going into his stun, which is very, very smart, knowing that Heimdall's going to want to ultimate, but pretty sure Heim got stuck on Dharmic Pillars too, so not only took Tsukuyomi stun damage, but also took Dharmic Pillar damage, and as an ADC that's stuck when you're ulted, ouch, is definitely what that one feels like.
That's a rough time for Diminish on that Heimdallr.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Very close game, though, going all up to the end of that. A couple of lead swings, Georgia Tech down a couple K of gold at one point, and then finding a couple good fights, putting them up 3K, and everything going back to the middle. But let's go ahead and take a look. As they possibly could, but that'll do it for game one. So we're gonna go ahead and take a break right before we get into game two. We'll see you guys there in a minute. welcome back. We're going to get into game 2 very, very shortly, and a very good game won by Georgia Tech to go ahead and find that first W. So I'll take the first of these 3 possible games. Do you think they're going to run it down for a 2-0, or do you think CSUN's are going to make the adjustments, come back in this game?
I think both teams are going to make adjustments. Despite Georgia Tech winning, I can't imagine them feeling particularly great about that win. I want to see how they change it in picks and bans.
I do too. So we'll go ahead and hop right into those picks and bans right now and see what happens. So Georgia Tech had first P&B last time, and now CSUN is going to go ahead and get their chance at it now. It's how the AVGL format is working. Home team gets first, away team gets second, and then third game, the loser of game 2 will go ahead and get the pick. Now, Kuzenbo, going to stay consistent for CSUN here, and Persephone being the first banned out by Georgia Tech.
Both these picks were banned in the top 3 last time. Nothing surprising here. You see the Rama taken away.
Looks like they're probably going to try to run back these top 3 bans from both sides for the moment, which means maybe both teams get their top 3 again. But with CSUN taking first pick, do you think they're going to look to either maybe they pick up the Cerberus for themselves or pick up the Cerberus again since they're going to have that first pick and then flex it? Or do you think they go for something a little bit more higher tier?
I'm not sure. I mean, remember last time they first picked, they were in second pick, but they first picked Ganesh and Heim. So they clearly value both those picks a lot. I wonder if they'll take one of them back.
They could. Now, Nemesis being banned out by Georgia Tech. They don't want to fight that one this time here, which I agree. Nemesis just never feels good. Morgan being the third ban out here from CSUN. A very smart ban. No double Suki ults here this time for them.
Yeah,
Mojer are going to go ahead and finish out for Georgia Tech.
Wet Village just really put that Morgan to work. He found great ultimates in every fight that he could, and I'm not sure he was the most comfortable as playing like the base Morgan. He seemed very great at like ulting into someone else and making use of their kit.
Yep, and that's the best way to play Morgan is when you see somebody with 60 stars on Morgan, you're like, how is that fun? You're like, well, I get to play every character in the game, so it's a great time.
I know.
If you're Tsukuyomi, go ahead.
If you're playing the Morgan, you're just playing like every god in Smite. Like, that's the point of the god, right?
Sure, you just get to have a little bit more fun. Now, Tsukuyomi is going to be the first pickup for CSUN this time. And we'll see where Georgia Tech elects to go with their first 2 picks here. Think they pick up that Cupid for the moment. It looks like he's still open. He was banned away last time, so a high-tier hunter for the players still open.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Georgia Tech take Cupid, but it seemed like Mongol Hunter really liked that on her, the way he played it last time. He was top damage on his team. He was really a great ADC for them. I wouldn't be surprised to see them pick that. Georgia Tech's clearly thinking about what they want to take here, though.
Yeah, and that's the one thing coming in from second pick I can contest to for the team that we play on is we're debating what we want to prioritize. Do we want to prioritize our top 2 characters, teammates in general, our best 2 players, get them what they want to be comfortable on a high tier pick, or do we want to look for something that kind of combos well, maybe a support solo, jungle mid type thing? And it looks like they're going to go back that on here after realizing it did a lot of damage, and Cthulhu was open this game, so they're going to go ahead and lock in the Cthulhu for the solo laner.
Yeah, Georgia Tech clearly values that Cthulhu. They banned it in the first round last time, so it's a pick they wanted. I think they were talking about maybe picking up a Ganesh, but we see CSU take a Jingwei, Diminish wanting to maybe pick up some crit items of his own.
Would love to see a good old-fashioned crit battle between these 2 hunters, and Jingwei also very safe instead of this Heimdallr that was played last time. So I like that adjustment, and CSUN's going to go ahead and pick up that Ganesh here this time. I like this a little bit better so far, their top 3 than they got last time. I think they had a strong 3 last time, but this seems a little bit safer, seems a little bit more controlled. They already got 2 of their 3 for that mid 3v3, and Ganesh and Suki are very good together.
Yeah, I like to see CSU take that Ganesh back. I thought Ganesh did a lot for them last game. And I like the Tsukuyomi takeaway from Georgia Tech. I think it's a pick that Zexy Zealot's comfortable on, and whenever you can take away a pick someone else likes, it's a good move for your team, I think.
I agree 100%. Now, there's not going to be a Nike this time around, at least not yet. Could be coming back in because of the Cthulhu. But, Beatles, there's your Erlong.
Yeah, I love to see Erlong. If I'm CSU, I'm thinking gotta take away Ra or something. I mean, the Ra matchup with Erlang Shen is really good. We saw Georgia Tech ban the Ra last time, so I think it's a pick that's in their minds. And I think they'll try to go for it right out the gates in the second round of picks.
I agree with you. Now, Georgia Tech second round of ban, Osiris being banned out. Now, a little bit different. Wasn't banned out in the first game or picked Where do you think this comes from? Think this is a matchup thing with the Cthulhu?
I'm not sure. I feel like Osiris is a decent matchup against Cthulhu because Osiris is just a lane bully and it can kind of counter what Cthulhu wants to do in lane. But this ban makes much more sense to me. I don't want to see Cher on that Cerberus ever again.
Yeah, Cher absolutely ran it down game 1, so he gets a little bit of a respect ban here. And then there's the Ra being banned out by CSUN, so great call there. They don't want to see any of that damage coming off that Erlang, but you know, if they got a Thos still up, I would probably look to ban that one away, taking out the Morgan and the Ra. He kind of do the same things as the Ra, but they went with the Hera.
Yeah, I think Hera is a good ban as well. I think Georgia Tech might go with something a bit aggressive. I wouldn't be surprised if they picked Toth, like you mentioned. I also think they might go for an Agni. I feel like Agni might be a good matchup with Erlang and Athena, just an aggressive mid laner.
I agree with that as well. And Athena going to go ahead being picked up for Georgia Tech, as you mentioned. And Poseidon going to be that mid lane lockdown spot for C-Stun this time. A little bit of a different approach. I kind of like this. I like this Baron, or I'm sorry, not Baron. Poseidon with Suki this time. I think that's going to look really good for them. And now we see where they elect to go with their solo laner. Sung Wukong still up, as you mentioned. King Arthur still very much open. I'd like to see that too.
Amaterasu as well. This is a pick that we haven't seen either team prioritize, but it's open.
Yep, and it was banned away last game too, so maybe that is where CSUN wants to look. But we'll see where they like to go with their solo laner here in a second. And the other side of things, Georgia Tech is looking for their mid laner, and they go ahead and lock in that King Arthur. So King Arthur, Poseidon, Ganesh, Jingwei, and Tsukiyomi make up CSUN's draft. And, you know, I like that draft. It's simple in what it wants to do, but it does its job well.
Yeah, I agree. I love the follow-up with, or I love like the pairing of Poseidon and Tsukuyomi. You can lock down one target, and then you can just blow them up with Kraken and Poseidon's Whirlpool. And I'm interested to see how Georgia Tech responds with their mid laner pick, because I would like to see something that's safe, something like the Toth. Scylla might not be the safest, but I like the pick with all the setup that Georgia Tech has.
I do too. I think it kind of does the same thing that Savvy wanted to do, or I'm not sorry, not Savvy. West Village wanted to do last game with the Morrigan, of just find an Athena taunt, blow them up. Well, this time you can just Athena taunt, I'm a monster them, and pretty much going to have the same effect, if not better, because you can reset that, use it a couple more times, you win a team fight off that.
Yeah, I like the Scylla pick a lot. I would have liked the Raw hair a bit more, I think, so I like the bans from CSU, but I think Scylla has a great pairing with Erlang, because as soon as he turtle forms in and gets a knockup, you can just follow up with the Scylla Crush or the Scylla Root, and it's just a good pairing that Georgia Tech has. It's a very traditional smite, I feel like. You have setup for your mid, hope your mid hits it, and hope you win the fight off of it.
I agree. I think both teams look like that right now. I also really like that Dharmic Pillar Kraken right now. That's going to look good. If you get a good Dharmic Pillar, box somebody in, that's just saying, hey, Poseidon, I got something over here for you. You want a present? I got you a present. Go ahead and drop a Kraken on it. But on the other side of things, Cthulhu knock up into I'm a monster. Erlang taunt into I'm a monster. Athena taunt into I'm a monster. But we're going to go ahead and wait no longer to see how this is going to play out. Let's get into game 2 here. Now, Beatles, I'm excited, as we were talking about, to see how the Scylla performs in this game here for West Village. But on the other side of things, I'm excited to see how this CSUN draft works out for them as well.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing what Relic Zexi's going to pick up, because if he picks up a Blink and Moek has picked up this Beads, I think that means he wants to be a bit safer. But
I definitely agree. I mean, we'll have a little bit of a pause here for the second as the players are getting adjusted here, but we're able to talk a little bit more about that draft. Like I said, that's Tsukiyomi, and Poseidon's going to feel really good after the Dharmic Pillars. And this time, there's no Nemesis ult to drop onto either one of them when they first engage.
Yeah, when I think of a time I want Cthulhu, might be right now, and there's no Nemesis matchup to worry about.
Oh, 100%. Like Cthulhu was probably very happy when he was like, hey, Nem's banned, give me Cthulhu. They didn't take Cthulhu, give me him. So very well done here for Georgia Tech to pick up something very strong for their solo laner. But I think King Arthur has a very strong matchup into W Taker this time.
Yeah, King Arthur's a great pick right now. His build path usually includes either a Stone of Gaia, or if you want to be aggressive, a Soul Eater. Both those items are strong at the moment, so I'd like to see the matchup here. And it's interesting to see that Georgia Tech's picked up not 1, not 2, but 3 Blinks. I think they're trying to be as aggressive as they possibly can in this game.
I love the 3 blinks. You know, my favorite thing is when I see full 5 blinks from one people, because that means your carry got blink and it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, one thing to note here is West Village did not elect for that boot start like we saw last game on the Morrigan. He went ahead and went for the traditional mages and lost artifact.
I think I like this build a bit more with Scylla. You don't really need to be moving across the map that much. You kind of just want to clear the wave, maybe clear your back camps, and then just go back into your wave. So I like the more traditional build for Scylla.
Cool. Look at this solo lane, though. A little bit more aggressive this time around. Both solo laners very, very low. But it looks like W Taker getting the better end of it. May have a lower health bar, but, you know, got a little bit more of that wave pressure. Good blink jump in here, and Mongol Hunter is going to find the first kill onto Savisaur on this Poseidon. Looking for a red buff invade by Georgia Tech. Not finding it, but they did find first blood.
Yeah, I think Georgia Tech's happier to take out the... but we have a solo kill.
It's a solo! Cher gonna pick up another solo kill on W Taker over here in the solo. And like I said, King Arthur's got a really good matchup into Cthulhu.
Yeah, Cher is taking advantage once again of a good matchup and taking, you know, he soloed W Taker last time, he soloed him again. Cher's just popping off today in solo lane.
I think this is a good old case of solo diff today. But, you know, CSUN did not win that first match, so not quite all the way there. If Cher finds another couple solo kills, then I'm going to put a crown on him and call him pretty much the king of solo lane for today.
Oh, yeah. But it is going to put a bit of a strain on Georgia Tech, because Zexy Zealous now got to be thinking, do I need to rotate over to solo to help him out, make sure he doesn't die anymore, or do I just try to focus on other lanes where the enemies don't have a lead?
He's definitely have to start looking over that way just a little bit more often now, especially if that King Arthur could find another one as well. But a little purple invade coming out for Georgia Tech. And I'm very happy with Cher finding that return kill on that solo, by the way, just because, you know, you've up the scoreline. You didn't get first blood, but at least you guys aren't farther behind what you could have been.
Yeah, it's definitely good for a morale boost for CSU's team. But we see Georgia Tech taking perfect advantage of a pressure differential in this duo lane. I mean, Georgia Tech got a pressure on the wave, and they made an early rotation over to red buff. They got a kill off it. They get pressure in lane. They rotate and take away CSU's purple buff. I mean, I'm worried what's going to happen when Mongol Hunter hits level 5 here in a minute.
Yeah, having a level on both these lane opponents for Georgia Tech feels really good in duo. Duo diff feels fantastic, especially if you're on an Athena and an Honor. Oh, that's a lot of damage that's going to get put out very quickly. And they got to be careful here, as Jingwei could be finding out, but they're going to find a kill in the middle lane here. Savisaur is going to pick up Zexy here on that Erlong. So a nice early kill for the mid lane of CSU is going to help catch them and put them relatively close to even now in gold after that first blood.
Yeah, I mean, I think Savisaur's happy to take one back away from Georgia Tech, and he's got a bit of a lead now over Scylla. But I would have really liked to see Mongol Hunter and Wet Village take a fight in that duo lane. I'm a bit disappointed they didn't, but we've got some action over in solo.
And W Taker taking the worst end of a Cher trade once more. And honestly, King Arthur's gold ult is one of my favorite things to do and watch. Now, when W Taker's going to go ahead and get aggressive here with the Athena ult coming in, knock up is going to go ahead and find it at the end of that blink. Taunt from West Village here is going to lock down Cher, and Zexy is going to go ahead and not find the kill. W Taker will find the return kill on Cher this time, so he does get his revenge. Not a solo kill, had a little bit of help, but nevertheless, gets the return kill.
I like the call from Georgia Tech to try to take Cher down a notch and make sure he doesn't get too far ahead, but it took him a long time to chase down that King Arthur. He almost got away there.
And while that's happening, duo lanes getting a little bit farther and farther ahead. Level lead still for both the support and the carry, so CSUN might have to look for a little bit more help on their duo side of things, while the rest of their team is just looking at our King Arthur getting chased out by full Georgia Tech.
Something I haven't highlighted quite yet is the difference between a Jingwei in lane and a Hyman lane against an Anher. The nice thing about Jingwei is if Anher's ever knocking you up, you can just now dash away and you're totally fine with that. Whereas before, you could get impaled and then die right away, but I think this Jingwei is a really safe pick in this lane, so it might be making it hard for Georgia Tech to be aggressive there. And as I say that,
There it is, the solo kill from Mongo Hunter on the Diminish. We got another solo! Love to see that, especially in the ADC role. So both side lanes of the map have found a solo kill. Cher finding his, but on the other side of thing, Mongo Hunter finding his.
And I think I'm more scared of an ADC that's 2 levels up rather than a King Arthur that's 1 level down.
Kraken coming out now onto Zexy. I'm a Monster goes down 2. Not quite going to find him, but Wex is going to come in with a Tsukiyomi ult and clean up the first one. Athena ulting onto West Village to go ahead and get himself out. Poseidon did use his beads trying to escape there. And another solo kill! Cher finding another one onto W Taker. He was like, hey, Mongo Hunter. So I got a solo over there. I had one too. How about I raise you a second solo kill? Your move.
And it's all the more impressive because we remember that Cher was down a level in that lane, and now he's reclaimed his 1 level lead.
He's up again. I love to see that out of solo laner. Cher is playing out of his mind today. Fantastic solo laner. Like I said, give him the crown. He's the king of solo lane today, as far as I'm concerned. But now we got to see how Georgia Tech wants to respond to this solo laner starting to get kind of big. And not only him, but the rest of the team for CSUN is starting to kind of pull ahead minus the dual lane. The support has caught up, and Diminished is a little bit behind that on her now after that solo kill, but mid jungle solo got their leads.
Yeah, taking a death early usually isn't that big of a deal. But when they start adding up, it really becomes troublesome for you as a jungler, or really in any role, but in a jungle especially. Moek has a big lead here, and we can see Kraken come out, but... Oh.
Goodbye, Wet Village. Savisaur going to find that kill here with a little bit of help from the Ganesh, but once again, another good Kraken is going to do most of the work this time. So now I'm going to find a 2-kill advantage here for CSUN as they've brought this gold back to even, and there's just a very slight gold lead. Very in Georgia Tech. It's probably about sub 200, so basically nothing at this point. It's just a couple minions and who gets a better wave. Now gold tiers spawn, and we'll see where they elect to go.
It might be important to note that the goal difference is really almost entirely on, or the reason this game's so close is because there's a 1,000 goal difference in between the two hunters. Mongol is absolutely huge compared to Diminished here. But
another team fight here breaking out. Dark Pillar's dropped. Mongo Hunter's going to find the first kill. Mongo Hunter's going to find the second kill. Tsukiyomi ping-ponging against everybody. Going to find a stun on the end of it after he gets 1 kill. Jingwei's rotated in, find a lot of damage. Weck still looking. He's going to get on the other side of Diminish, but Diminish is just going to get obliterated by Crush and Impale. Mongo Hunter's going to find the double kill, cleaning them both up. A 4-for-1 here trade in favor of Georgia Tech. But Cher's going to look to try to make it a 4-for-2 if he can find W Taker out of the ultimate. But it looks like he's going to back up.
I was convinced Cher was going to get another solo kill there. I was certain that it was going to happen. But we see Georgia Tech's mid laner, West Village, completely dominated that team fight. He hit a huge crush that completely took out Savisaur, did huge damage to Moek. And that was just a great fight by Georgia Tech all around.
Georgia Tech did play that skirmish extremely well. And the on here now is going to try to just trade down this tower, and impales Diminish back and says, no. This is my tower. You stay back there. That's going to give him a little bit more open pressure from this left side of the map.
Mogul Hunter is absolutely huge. I know I was just talking about how West Village played that fight great, but he is 6-0, level 12, 1,000 gold above the next person in the game. He's the highest level, highest gold, highest kills. This is what a carry is supposed to look like.
Yeah, this man is straight carrying his team on his back for the moment with all these kills. He's going to run out of places to put them, but now another Kraken and Crush trade out. Mongo is going to jump in to find the next kill. Tsukiyomi to the backside is going to find out West Village for the moment, but this fight is not over. Athena dashing in, throwing the extra spear to try to find something else. Another knock-up taunt from the Hunter and the Jungler, and Zexy's going to find that kill onto the Ganesh. And then they're going to turn it into a red buff invade. But Cher is here. They're looking for a little bit of a flang. He's going to knock up Zexy. A good taunt from the boys, and appeal for the moment. They're still looking for it. Weck looking to come in. A good King Arthur ult is going to take up Zexy for the moment. And just straight into a Jingwei knockup, and Weck's going to find that kill onto Zexy. Honor going to go ahead and just jump over the wall because, they added that wall there, and he gets to wave for free.
I love the rotation coming out of Cher. He makes that fight somewhat even for CSU, but what he concedes and do in rotating is now W Taker's probably pulled back even in terms of gold and XP. They're certainly closer than it was before.
And he gets a proxy off, takes out that tower. It's kind of hard to tell which trade you're liking better. See, sounds like, hey, we came into this, Cher got big in it, got a good couple team fight kills, but he lost his tower. So it might be net even there at that point. What do you think?
In terms of gold and XP, it's probably about even. But in terms of morale, I'm probably happier if I'm CSU, just in terms of you killed the jungler. I feel like that might make the jungler a little upset, maybe a little tilted, and any potential for tilt is something you might want to exploit in a competitive game.
Very true. Now an Oracle dance is starting. One we don't see too much, but the supports are both looking at him like, hey, I want these Oracles and you want them. But in the middle is the team fight going on. Mwek going to go ahead and use that Tsukiyomi ult for some CC immunity to get himself out of any danger.
And W Taker's made a rotation over here, so you expect Georgia Tech's going to pull up this Gold Fury, but CSU's on their heels.
They're going to go ahead and start the pull right now. It's under half. I'm Monster's out to go ahead and finally confirm. They're going to go ahead and take it down almost immediately. Cthulhu is just in the backside right now. Kraken comes out. Dharmic Pillars drop Cthulhu up to the big boy ultimate. Mwek's going to find the starting kill of this engagement, but Mongo Hunter is going to trade it out almost immediately. Both supports have fallen here, but Zexy's going to find another one onto the ADC, and Mongo Hunter is going to appeal for the boys and take down the big boy Cher here for the moment. So 3 for 1 in favor of Georgia Tech, on top of getting that Gold Fury. Great trade by Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Georgia Tech's really putting this on her to work, and all of their lead is basically coming off plays that Mongo Hunter is making. He's divine with less than 12 minutes into the game. He has just as many kills as CSU. That might not be the best sign for CSU there.
That's how you know your on her is big. When he has 9 of your 12 kills, but it's been a part of 11 of the 12 kills, yeah, your ADC is doing work. And whoa, that damage from W Taker out onto Mwek there is going to discourage him for stepping up to try to stop this Pyromancer that is going to fall for Georgia Tech.
Maybe the scariest thing about this on her that is 4 levels up over diminished is that he's got Rage built. He is working on that Wind Demon, and he's going to be creating you for 500 damage in less than a minute or so. This is a scary pick to be getting crit on this early.
Yeah, we saw it last game. Mongo Hunter was doing quite a lot of damage on this crit on her, and he said, hey, I'm going to play it again. I'm going to do the same thing. Are you going to stop it this time? And the answer is definitely not, as he's had a better start than last game, going 9-0-2 so far, while his counterpart is just 0-3-4. Still not finding any kills here for Diminish, but having a couple assists under his belt to kind of keep him not as far behind as he could be, but, still 4 levels behind hurts.
I think I would have liked to see Diminished kind of match the crit builds, just because Jingwei is so good at doing crit damage with her 2 stim, but especially because the people who are diving aren't people who have built protections yet, so you're really going to be getting the full force of that crit damage out. But we got to fight here in mid.
Yep, and then Athena blinking, taunt, and Zach's going to drop his ultimate for another taunt here. But, not find a taunt, drop his pin to try to find another stun, but nothing going to happen right here. Now, flank on the rotate here. Dharmic Pillars drop back up to the ultimate. A big I'm a Monster from West Village is going to go ahead and find the Ganesh here to start. The chase is on from Mwek. We tried to stun Cthulhu up, but I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. They're crushing the back line. Mongo Hunter finding a nice pin. He's going to dive through the tower, take a little bit of damage, but he got some good Aegis out. A great taunt here and stun. Cher's going to find W Taker. Zexy's going to trade out the Tsukiyomi. And now they're running away. And West Village finding a nice little crush onto Cher at the backside of things. So a 4 for 1 in favor of Georgia Tech. Tell me if you heard that before.
I think Georgia Tech's going to get more than just that tier 1 tower. I think they're going to push in and take this tier 2. Diminished health bar went from like 100 to 20% after maybe a 1 second engagement with the Erlang Shen. I mean, Zexy Zealot did so much damage so quickly on that Jingwei that he instantly forced him out. Great play by him, and you love to see Georgia Tech take 2 towers in the mid lane. I mean, Georgia Tech's just running this game. They have full control of the map right now.
They have their foot on the gas pedal, and a very heads-up play from Mongol and West there to just base trade out that tower after having those minions in. They just stepped out each other. But a lazy back from West Village will cost him his life. Savisaur running up with a Kraken and says, hey, don't back here. Your life is mine. Finding something out at the end of that isn't the worst thing in the world. It's not the best thing, but it feels a bit better. Now Beats come out from the Diminish, jumps in. Mongo Hunter is looking very aggressive, wants to find this solo kill here. Not going to have his ultimate up, and now will Diminish. It should be coming up just about the same time, so Mongo Hunter's going to kind of run. Jingwei steps back, but Mongo Hunter says, hey, we're ADCs. We land autos here. And he's going to go ahead and find that solo kill on a Diminish once more.
And that's just got to feel bad for Diminished. I mean, he comes to lane trying to get a little farm, and he gets as punished as you can be for stepping up and doing that.
Yeah, you stepped up into somebody that's 4 levels ahead of you, that's 9-0-5 at that point in time. Mongo Hunter is 100% ego challenging that every single day. And, you know, it ends up with him being 10-0-5, so pretty good ego challenge if you ask me.
We've seen Mongo Hunter go ahead and pick up the Wind Demon, and he's going to rush straight into this Fail Knot. He is going as much crate as you really can build on this on her, and it's kind of disgusting, to be honest.
I really like this Fail Knot after the Wind Demon, just from the penetration alone. I mean, the Wind Demon's going to give you that 10% after you hit a crit, and then Fail Knot did get 10% pen on it. And I didn't see it for a while when people went crit bids or crit builds. They were just like, yeah, Fail Knot still Fail Knot, but Fail Knot has penetration. You can get penetration in your crit builds and swing even harder now. But Georgia Tech's going to start this Gold Fury up over here, and this is going to be 100% free. Nobody's even stepped in to try to contest it.
And Onher makes great use of the passive of Fail Knot as well. He wants to be ulting as often as he can. He wants to have his ult off as often as he can, so the cooldown's really nice on him. But we see Zexy taking a one-on-one and share, and he's trying to prove that maybe to W Taker that this guy's not impossible to kill one-on-one.
And he does prove it right there, finding the solo kill. Jungle for solo. Good Aegis from Zexy to go ahead and stop it for the moment. Oh, taking a lot of damage there. And he did hit a Tsukiyomi out there, and what goes through the wall and gets the kill. I think he got the kill with that beam of light, which is why he didn't teleport to it, because that looked really wonky from our point of view. But on the other side of things, Georgia Tech said, oh, you guys are over there? This is a nice left-hand Phoenix that you got here.
And they're definitely going to get this. There's no way that they can get in and stop Mongo Hunter from tearing through this Phoenix. But we see the Cthulhu come out, and he's going to force out Savisaur and Diminished.
That's a very good left-hand Phoenix. Not even a Fire Giant yet in this game. It's still sitting over there all lonesome by himself, just trying to see if anybody wants to come get him. But after taking a left-hand Phoenix, I'm sure Georgia Tech's probably going to back, grab that Fire Giant, and look fresh out the rest of the map. But on the other side of things, C-Sun Tsukiyomi might get to push up that T2 tower and take the T1 in mid. And now look for this right-hand lane and try to push that up as well. Trying to give them as much pressure as they can in the other 2 lanes with that Phoenix falling to make this Fire Giant a little bit harder to start for Georgia Tech and buy them some more time.
Yeah, I'm we see all the builds for Georgia Tech are sort of starting to round off, but CSU's got a lot of items left to build on their side. This gold lead, it's only 9K, but it's 9K at 19 minutes. That's a big lead this early. They haven't even done Fire Giant. They haven't done Pyro, although they're Zexy Zealous working on it right now. I think Georgia Tech might open this game up in a minute or two, and they might try to push for the end pretty soon.
They definitely have that open to the Titan room. If they find a full clean 5, they don't need to worry about those other 2 Phoenixes. They can just walk straight into the throne room, and it looks like W Taker's trying to find maybe a little bit on the back half of things for the moment. Zexy trying to find Cher and get the big player out of the match for C-Sun for the moment. And that looks like they're going to go ahead and try to commit right onto him. I'm a Monster is popped. Gonna look for it, not quite gonna find it here from West Village, but Zexy's gonna go ahead and clean up the kill onto Cher. The Tsukiyomi is in, looking for the ultimate now, connecting with a couple, seeing where he's gonna end up onto the back line here. Very, very low health bars, and he's gonna go ahead and find one of them. Aegis is out the first part of damage, taking a lot of damage. He's gonna fall the Wet Taker here on the Mire. Now Savvy's got a nice little rotate here on the backside, looking for the rotate. Diminished in the left hand, trying to take out those towers on the left. Silicrush not going to find anything. Savisaur is going to go ahead and fall to Wet Village. The Athena picking up a kill. But all this happened. Knockerhead just trying to chill by the tower. Stall as long as they can. Diminished. Pushing up the left lane. Taking out as many of those fire minions as they can. And taking the left-hand T1 tower at the moment. Meantime.
But Georgia Tech's going to pull this Fire Giant. We see Wet Village ult up and hit ult up to the Honor, that's going to be the signal for Mongol Hunter to start hitting this FG. And it's going to go for them.
437, 437, 437. Those crits hurt. Especially to that Fire Giant. And now W Taker's made his way over here to the Jingwei just to ensure they don't get it. Georgia Tech going to go ahead and confirm that Fire Giant right there pretty freely. And Mongol Hunter really didn't lose any damage to it. That was a very interesting interaction there. With W Taker finding the stun at the end of the Jingwei dash. Not going to find the stun. Goes up into the ultimate after the blink. And this should be a dead Jingwei. There is no way Diminished is going to go ahead and survive W Taker's onslaught here.
Yeah, W Taker saying that Mongol Hunter can get solo kills in Jingwei. So can W Taker. He wants to prove himself a bit to his ADC, I think.
100%, especially after losing one or two of those 1v1s to share. But now W Taker's in a really awkward spot. Thorns will pop. Whirlpool damage good, but not good enough as W Taker's damage onto that Poseidon. In the meantime, Mongol Hunter just took down the right tier 2, and now they're looking for this right side Phoenix. W Taker just fighting two people. They're trying to get him on the backside. Kraken comes out. This is three people on the left side, which only leaves the Tsukiyomi to defend that right-hand Phoenix for the moment. Because as we pointed out already, Diminished did fall. So this right-hand Phoenix is going to go down. Now they could look for a little bit more of an engage here.
Yeah,
down.
It seemed like CSU might have focused a little bit too much on that Cthulhu, and they lost their right Phoenix for that. And they didn't even manage to get the Cthulhu because he's so tanky and so big right now. And CSU probably made the wrong call there.
He's got Stone of Gaia, so any of those Tidal Wave knockbacks from Savisaur is going to start giving him a little bit more health. And left Phoenix did respawn. They have Fire Wave coming down that side, but mid Phoenix is the focus. W Taker going straight at the Tsukiyomi right now to try to push him off. A good sanity break there. We'll go ahead and Theorem Wek away. Middle Phoenix will fall, and now onto the left-hand Phoenix is already very low. Zexy and Mongol are going to be straight in. Pin not going to connect for Zexy, and now the base is wide open. And the only person with Fire Giant not on them is Zexy, and they still have this Fire Giant buff for about 2 minutes.
All three Phoenixes down. Georgia Tech's going to reset, take the Oni Fury. They're going to get Oni Fire minions in all three lanes, and then I think they're going to push in and try to end the game off of that. This is looking... CSU's in a dire straits at the moment.
And an Oni Fury to add on top of things. Oni Fire Waves. Oh, this is looking very, very bad for CSU. They've got to put up the biggest defense of their life. And we'll see if they can do it here in just a few minutes as Red Team goes ahead and takes that back. Georgia Tech going to step all the way up and look for this Phoenix or Titan engage. Let's see some being smart, sending their Jingwei to clear left and just pushing up mid and the rest of the four teammates just to try to relieve this pressure on their Titan throne room for the moment.
Mongol Hunter has gone ahead and bought the one item that every hunter wants to buy in every hunter build that they ever have, Deathbringer. Mongol's crits are going to be swinging for at least 800 damage on squishies, and probably about 600 on the tanky targets as well. Georgia Tech starting to march down this mid lane, and this might be a tough defense.
Yep, Cthulhu already up in the big boy ultimate. Athena ulting all the way up on W Taker, taking those beads from Wek, but on the backside here, a little bit of an engagement. King Arthur going into the back. Shares losing a lot of health very, very quickly. Tsukiyomi's coming back. Mongol Hunter's going to find the first kill of the engagement. Wek in the backside now. I'm a monster, not going to connect. A good taunt from the Athena. Beads Aegis come out of the Tsukiyomi, and now Zexy's turn to get in the back line and do his damage. Good stun out from the Ganeshan, return from Wek. Savisaur just trying to run away from the Cthulhu and just do as much as he can to buy some times for the minute. But now the Titan is under attack, and it's very, very low. Zexy's just trying to sneak his way out as much as he can, but that's gonna be it. Georgia Tech finding both games here, and they go ahead and win game 2. What a great set from Georgia Tech. Game 1, it was a little back and forth. Game 2, very controlling.
Oh yeah, that's the exact type of set you want to see. You want to see both sides of a team. You want to see what can a team do when they're, ahead all game and they're putting, foot on the gas pedal, trying to end the game as quick as possible. And what can you do when you're completely even in those late game team fights? Wonderful set from both teams. Georgia Tech takes it 2-0.
Very good. Congratulations to Georgia Tech. They played very, very well this last game, and I just kind of was giggling at the end of that where the Cthulhu was chasing out the side at the end. He just said, come here, and the whirlpool coming off. But look at that. Not even 6 items finished for the support carry or mid laner for CSU, whereas, Georgia Tech had everything done. And Mongol Hunter finishing cleanly, no deaths, 11-0-9, playing out of his mind on the Mongol or on her.
That's exactly what you see coming out of your ADC. He does, you know, oftentimes calling them carries can be disingenuous because sometimes your hunter doesn't carry, but Mongol Hunter completely carried this game. He was 11-0-9. While he didn't get godlike, he was pretty damn close.
It was pretty good. I mean, Mongol Hunter did carry the game, but he couldn't have done it without his team. His team putting up quite a lot of damage numbers. But look at that damage, 20k out of Mongol Hunter. But right behind him was his solo laner and his jungler. So not doing it all alone, having a good game out of the rest of his team surely helped him take that one for himself.
Oh yeah, Georgia Tech looked just clean. Even if they couldn't get even if they, their jungle and solo got soloed maybe once or twice, it didn't stop them in the slightest. They weren't phased, and they, kept running it down.
On the other side of things, though, CSU diminished, putting up 6k damage on the Jingwei, actually 14k behind Mongol Hunter, very, very close to that number, just a little bit one way or another. So once again, a great game from both of these players, but Georgia Tech will take it 2-0, and that will be our game for tonight. So that will do it for myself and for Beatles Boy for the moment. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see y'all later.
마치 가려진 듯한 때감 타놓고 난 니꺼라 전혀 표박한 마비 다 살리가 리버란 비난 비탐 주각하모 장한 나더가 마치 가려진 듯한 때감 타놓고 난
All right, welcome back to the cast, guys. We just watched game 1, Georgia Tech versus what was that, Isaac?
California State University.
California State. Sorry, I was focusing on the player games. It was a very good set, impressive match. GG's to everyone. Really hard fought. Really, honestly, this semester's I've been blown away by the level of competition. It's been really crazy everywhere. That game, extremely back and forth. Game 1, what was that, 32, 33 minutes?
33 minutes.
33 minutes, big plays by both teams. Really incredible. I can't wait to actually go back and watch the highlights, maybe take some notes, see what I could have done better.
Wait, were you in the game, Sexy Zealot? What?
I was the jungler. Game 1, Tsukiyomi. Game 2, Erlang Shin. It's pretty fun. So, game 2 taking off.
Congratulations on your set win, but we're going to move into our second set. We got a pretty exciting matchup as well. We got Arizona State University Black, that's one of their teams, and they're going to be playing against Santa Monica College.
I've played one of the Arizona State teams, and they were pretty good. The one with Unscathed on it. That was a hard-fought battle back in the day. I'm pretty impressed by the fact that there are so many ASU teams. There's a lot of Smite fans over in Arizona State. Maybe I picked the wrong college. Well, maybe you decided you picked the wrong college too there, Beatles.
Unfortunately, no one at my college plays Smite except for me. And if I were the best player at Smite, we would be the worst team in the league because I'm, not that great. But I'm excited to even be able to watch any Smite at all, especially AVGL. It's wonderful watching that these college teams all play.
I agree. There's a lot to balance, especially in college. You got school, you got Smite. Kind of feeling like a young NCAA player, except luckily we don't have the NCAA breathing down our necks.
And Zexy, as a AVGL player, maybe you can give us a little more insight into how college teams decide if they're going to, who they're going to pick, who they're going to ban. Do you guys find that you do a lot of research on the competition, or do you just try to stick to meta picks, meta bans? What does Georgia Tech do?
Well, it's hard, really, especially at the start here in this the group stage. There's 60 teams this year. I think 2 of them might have already forfeited everything, but at least 58. And it's very hard to know everybody. Of course, you get the match, but generally it's like a day or 2 before the actual game. And there's no rules about hiding profiles or anything like that. So some players will hide their profile. All right, we're going right into picks and bans here. I'll give you more on that later. Okay. Well, going back to that, there's just so many teams. It's really hard to know, but I think most teams will go through all the players and see what gods they like, see where they are in ranked, kind of figure out maybe is there one lane that we feel more comfortable putting pressure on than the other. You can see in the last game we put a lot of pressure on duo. Just a lot of that was just figuring out between game 1, game 2, and also going through profiles. Persephone ban, that's pretty common. Persephone, a lot of people say she's the best mage in the game, but she's pretty useless on someone that doesn't know how to play her, which could go into what you were talking about.
Persephone might be the type of guy that Santa Monica, they might not be able to play it. So they're, maybe they just want to make sure ASU doesn't get their hands on the Persephone, or maybe they just think the god's just too good, too valuable to let through it all. We say ASU take away the Nemesis. That's one of the top junglers in the game. We saw Georgia Tech do something similar in their second game. I mean, she just does so much with her ultimate ability, clearing those protections. We're really flying through bans.
We really are, and we see Set as well. Set's been very popular in ranked. He has not been banned very often at all in SPL. Set and Nemesis actually play a pretty similar role in games. They both can just dive your carries better than basically anyone. Set can insta-kill from a range. Nemesis, most carries don't have a CC, so she can just shield, block the autos, and take out pretty much any carry. And she can take out tanks and big guardians with the ultimate. See a Tsukiyomi locked in, pretty standard. It was first picked both games in the last set as well. Followed rapidly by Sobek.
It certainly feels like these two teams are taking the top of the meta into their drafts. They're taking away the best meta gods, and they're picking the best meta gods for themselves. I love this Sobek. For my money, Sobek's the second best support right after Yamoja. His displacement's really good. His CC on his tail whip or pluck are really strong. And of course, his ult gives him a lot of damage mitigation, mana regen, and a lot of damage. And following up with the Hunbats is a perfect pairing. I mean, you can instantly pluck into a Hunbats ult, and it's very difficult to survive a fight like that.
That is a difficult interaction, especially because you can't actually really beads too well when you're already in the air, and most people wouldn't even think of doing so. So following it up quickly with the Hunt Bat Set ult can put you very quickly in a position you don't want to be in. But you got to make sure they play that correctly between the two of them. Especially in college, sometimes it can be difficult to get a lot of practice in, considering we're all students, we have studies. So God picks that require very good coordination and teamwork can sometimes fall apart pretty quickly.
But I love these two picks coming out of Santa Monica, especially Kuzumbo. I think Kuzumbo is right up there with Sobek. His displacement is amazing. I mean, I was describing him last set as a bit of a troll support in that everything he does it a little trolly, right? Like, he'll push you out of the way, he'll throw you, he'll like just push you around. And his ult it's not like a big constant displacement, but it's a lot of little ones. And he's just a very difficult support to wrangle down, to get your hands on, to kill. So I like the pick with the Tsukuyomi and Jingwei.
He's definitely the most annoying support in the game, I'll tell you that much. Jingwei, very good pick, especially against Sobek. For those of you that don't know, she has an ability where she can instantly fly out from any knockup, which would include Sobek's Pluck as well as Sobek's tail whip.
And I'm surprised that the ASU's picked up this Yanis so early on in the draft. I don't think Santa Monica would really ever ban Yanis because we don't see him that much in the meta right now, but I think Yanis is in a competitive setting, an especially good mage because you can communicate and say like, hey, let's send 4 people over to this lane, and then you'll be there in 5 seconds flat. Good picks.
I agree. Also, it plays into the fact that, again, college students, most of us don't have time to scrim all the time. I know my team, we sometimes manage once a week. So guys that require very good teamwork and coordination, such as Yanis, can be very good against these teams that maybe don't practice as much as other pro gamers can. The rest of the bands, pretty standard. Cupid, Sun Wukong, Kukulin. What are your thoughts, Beatles?
I like seeing Santa Monica take away the Cupid because you would expect them. I'd expect them to have banned Rom rather than the Amaterasu because you want to take away the top 200s in the game in Rom Cupid. But I like seeing the Amaterasu banned just because she's a really difficult solo laner to deal with. With ASU banning away so many talented solo laners, you don't want to leave them with a particularly strong one and have to match up with a maybe weaker one.
I agree. It'll be interesting to see what we take at this point. Maybe a Guan Yu, I think, is pretty strong right now. Maybe a Cerberus. We saw how much work that did game 1 of the Georgia Tech set.
Yeah, that Cher Cerberus was pretty damn impressive. I mean, he kind of ran the game for CSU there.
Yeah, it was pretty phenomenal. We were quite worried about it, actually, in game 2. But luckily, didn't seem like we needed to. They didn't pick it or ban it. So we see a Heimdall come out. Heimdall also actually works very well against Suku. I found this out the hard way game 1 last set. Suku, his 2 can be interrupted fairly easily, and you're not going to be able to get the stun off. So if he gets too close to Heim, trying to go in for a disarm, Heim can just instantly blow his horn and then cancel it real fast for the knockup and stop Suku.
Yeah, we were talking about that on the cast as well. Heimdall just has a great matchup against all of these assassins who are trying to dive him because he's really one of the safest hunters in the game because he can use his little, crystal porters to teleport around the map and get away from any assassin, and his 2 can knock back anyone trying to get close to him.
I agree. So we do see the Guan Yu picked up. I do like that. Interesting to pair with the Ra. That's now quite a bit of healing put on one team. So hopefully we'll see quite a bit of anti-heal come out of ASU.
But it's a bit hard for ASU's team comp to really apply good anti-heal. I mean, it never feels good buying Divine Ruin on a god like Janus who's really trying to blow up one person with one ability. And I was a bit worried about Ra's setup on Santa Monica. I feel like...
Oh, they do have the Guan Yu ultimate. A quick cancel.
That can really just one stun, though. I mean, all of their other forms of CC are displacement outside of Tsukuyomi's stun, and that can be a little difficult to follow up on, but...
That's true. We'll have to see how they do it.
I like the healing comp coming out of Santa Monica. I think healing's in a really good state right now. It's really strong. And ASU's not the best at applying anti-heal, so they went ahead and picked up this Odin, who can fully take away healing inside of his cage.
Also important to note, Sobek has built-in anti-heal. I believe it's 40% on his 3. I think Sickening Strike.
Sickening Strike, yes.
Yeah, there it is.
I think it might actually be 50%.
Either way, Odin also does especially well against this team comp because I count 5 gods that cannot get straight out of his ultimate.
Yeah. I think the Odin pickup's a really strong one with this comp against this comp that Santa Monica has picked up. It's going to be, the cage is going to be super valuable against all those players. And of course, against a Ra, there's not much that he can really do when he's caged. And we're going to go ahead and move into game 1 here between Santa Monica College and ASU Black.
I think this might be a bit of a race against time, this game. No team is like super late game, but I do think ASU has the advantage, especially with someone like Yanis, who is so difficult to lock down, and he can just output ridiculous amounts of damage very late game. And there aren't any really hard late game carries on Santa Monica. Although Suku, once he gets full build, depending on how someone decides to build him, he can do tremendous amounts of power with all that scaling. We see Soul Leaders come out sometimes. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the building Soul Leader on most jungles. And it would be a lot of healing with their already 2 healers, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, before ASU locked in the Odin, I was definitely favoring Santa Monica's draft. But as soon as they picked Odin, if Revolution can play a good Odin here, I feel like ASU just... I don't want to say they have it in the bag, but I think their comps just can really handle what Santa Monica is trying to do here.
I agree. We see a route for a very quick shutdown. Pretty standard stuff, clearing speed. Looks like Hunbats is a little bit faster than Suku. We could see something happen in mid if he can get there faster. Surprisingly, Hunbats actually has beads. That's not too shocking, but
Both
often
of
we
these
see
junglers have started with beads, actually.
Beads is very standard for Suku and Yomi because you don't really have anything to blink for since he has quite a lot of range. We see a little bit of fighting going on in mid. Nothing too exciting. So
always going to get the better end of those.
We see a very quick rotation over here for Suku in the solo lane, and he picks up the kill. Looks like he went straight after blue, straight into the lane.
But if you're ASU, I feel like you have to instantly respond and try to invade on this red buff, and they're going for that invade.
Very good choice, very good decision. Try to split the XP. Rod's probably going to try to snipe this. They could turn around. We see Akuzubo and Rod. Looks like they're going to get a double here. Yanis does not have portal. He looks like he took his 3 and his 2. Interesting choice, but he does make it out. Hunbats with a very good teleport. Gets knocked up. Chasing Jingwei. Jingwei is probably going to go down. I think Sobek. Oh, he's blocked it.
He blocked
and we see Thunderfan take out Visions. Looked like a good red invade, but it went bad. No, it went well, actually.
They got the red buff, but then they lost quite a few gods on the follow-up of it. I mean, Thunderfan has just come in, and he's already got 3 early kills. That's not something you want to see on a Tsukuyomi who just does so well from ahead.
I agree. He does probably more from ahead than almost any other jungler in the game right now, just because of his pure raw damage potential. And we saw a little taunt come out from Sobek there in middle lane. Maybe feeling himself a little bit. We'll have to see.
Yeah, feeling himself after his team's down 4-0. That's pretty much the exact situation you want to be in. We've seen ASU's now
maybe
down around
then.
1,000 gold and already. That's a pretty significant lead 2 minutes into the game.
I'd like to see them push this advantage more. Maybe board deep on red buff and look to invade every time it spawns. They definitely have the lead, especially with Suku. And Hunbats himself is not great at defending buffs. His overhead smash takes a really long time to get off. In fact, Suku might be able to finish the stun off his 2 before the animation even finishes if he starts it a little bit early. We see the crystals go out pretty safe under tower. Interesting where he's going to place those. That's very important for Heim. Looks like right now he has it from purple back to tower, if I'm seeing this.
Well, we've got Zexy just sort of disconnected a bit, but I think he'll come back any minute. He was mentioning that Heimdall's crystal placement super important, and Red Vulcan's just going to play this super safe, placing those crystals in towers and making sure he can get out, in any situation where he needs to.
Good knockup onto the Heimdall, and this duo lane also be pretty exciting to watch. Sobek plays pretty well, pretty aggressively, as does Kuzenbo, and looks like Santa Monica's going to pick up their own red. ASU is probably too scared to try that again, considering what happened last time. Ra is pretty low, though. If one of them had tried to invade, I believe they would have been successful. Maybe picked up Ra on the back end. But now we see Ra at level 5. He's probably going to back soon. Looks like he only has T1 boots. We see a blink on Guan Yu straight onto the Odin. I think Odin does have jump, and he will jump right out of there. Not much mana left.
Yeah, Odin just had enough mana to get that jump off. If he didn't, that might have gone the other way.
It can be difficult as Suku sometimes to lock people down, since all you have is this stun that you have to be pretty close for. So really you're going to rely on just killing them before they can get away. We see him in mid lane right now, looking at maybe the Yanis or the Hunbats. We see a 2v1. He does take out, or he stuns the Yanis, but no kill. Interesting he still has full HP. I guess they were unable to return much damage. We see low mana from both the Hunbats and the Yanis, which could have played a part there.
I think Hunbats just wanted to hold the ult. You don't really want to use the Hunbats ult on just one target, but that might have been a decent opportunity for them to take out this big Tsukuyomi.
He might have been thinking ahead because we see Tsukuyomi has both beads and his ultimate up, and if he were to ult very fast, you do have a few frames where you can quickly... We see a Guan Yu ult come out. I don't think anything's going to happen. You should just be able to jump out. And then we see Suku going again on Yanis, and there's the ultimate. This should be a kill. Bats might look to ult here. There it is. We see the beads come out. Oh, he decides not to chase it, the Hunbats. He did get slowed by the Suku, but Suku does not have any more mana. I probably would have liked to see him chase that a little bit harder. Especially if he were up, he could have gotten this Ra as soon as he walked into mid lane. Maybe a little bit of lack of communication between Isla and Sham. Isla probably could have called that he was moving in there. And now we're just going to see a reset. Looks like Odin is going to try to defend his blue, but he's unsuccessful, and Guan Yu takes it.
Yeah, he was just way too late on the rotation there. Darkshaw's go ahead and going to steal this blue buff away from Revolution. You know, that's if you're Odin, you want to make sure you have full control of your blue buff at all times, and it's unfortunate that he doesn't here.
What do you think of power boots on Yanis versus Suja's Focus, Beatles?
I think it depends on what type of build you want to go for. If you're Yanis and you're going to build these purple boots, Shoes of the Magi, to me that's saying, okay, I'm going to be buying Chronos Pendant later on in my build, and then maybe follow up with a Soul Gem and maybe Spear of Desolation, because you don't want to overcap on cooldown reduction if you can avoid it. And just having the power of Chronos Pendant and Shoes of the Magi feels really good as Giannis pretty early on. But if you maybe don't want to get Chronos Pendant and you want to get maybe more power, like a Soul Reaver early or an early Rod Tahuti even, picking up those Shoes of Focus is a good idea, I think. But it really depends on what you want to build next, I think.
It's also interesting seeing mana pots come out from Prime Example on this Jingwei. That's not something you see too often on ADCs.
No, I mean, usually you go for the multi-pots, but having extra mana is always nice. And we see a nice damage coming out from Earl of Arms on Isla on the Sobek.
Yeah, Earl and Fans both hit that, and we see a solo kill go down. I see Odin Cage just ended, so I assume he caged him in, but was then followed up by the horse, it looks like, since Guan Yu's ultimate is also down. We'll have to see to make sure that doesn't spiral out of control. We already have 0-2 on Revolution, probably down quite a bit. A 2,500 gold lead. This game could spiral out of control very fast, especially with the team comp that Santa Monica has drafted.
Yeah, you would like to see ASU try to do something to rein in this sort of snowball that is Santa Monica College right now. I really liked. I was just sort of thinking that if you're Guan Yu ulting into the cage of Odin, you can't leave anywhere. So you're kind of like stuck in one place, and that might make it easy to hit the damage of the swings on Guan Yu's dash onto Revolution. Maybe you just took a lot of damage from Cavalry Charge.
It's definitely a bit of a do or die situation. We see a Sobek pluck onto Suku, but nothing much happens there. But as I was saying, do or die, if you're going to decide to Guan Yu ult while inside of the Odin cage, you're saying, I'm not going to leave, I'm going to kill you inside of here. Because now you can get out of Odin cage if you just auto it a few times, depending on how much levels it is. But I don't think the autos from the ult count. So that's an interesting interaction. And we saw how Yanis up against Ra, it can feel like you really can't do anything. He used all of his damage potential with the portal and the something vortex, I believe, the two. And
Unstable Vortex.
Unstable vortex, yes. But despite hitting both of them, Ra just healed it up instantly. So Earl of Arms probably feeling pretty safe right now, knowing that the damage potential from Visions is pretty low.
And that's just one of the weaknesses of Janus. He does not apply anti-heal well at all. He's probably the worst mage at applying anti-heal in the game. The way Janus wants to play just is not conducive to applying anti-heal in the way that like maybe an Agni can apply anti-heal or some other mage.
See a bit of a fight here over oracles. Looks like Sham was just trying to get a cheeky steal with the bouncing monkey, but unsuccessful. Conducive is a pretty big word. They teach you that at Williams?
I'm interested in seeing what this this hammer is going to turn into for the Odin. You don't really see solo laners rush items like Blackthorn Hammer, Sledge, Runeforged Hammer, which you almost never see bought, or Frostbound Hammer. So I don't really know what Odin's trying to go for here.
I'm sure it's a Sledge. I'm positive it's a Sledge. That's not really that strange.
I feel like it's strange to pick up this early because as a solo laner, it's not like you want to be you're not really near 3 other people that often. You're kind of just still in lane. I would have liked to see this picked up maybe a bit later in the build if it is going to be a sledge.
It could be him deciding. We see him getting pretty low, actually. Guan Yu does still have the horse if he decides to try to dive or something. We see Suku on this side, so they know Sobek's hanging around. I don't think they've seen Sham yet, but they have now. We see Sham's ultimate come out. We see a quick beads, probably not the right teleport that he wanted. We see Thunderfan's ultimate come out. Odin's going to go down to the damage alone. Isla's in the ultimate. He's going to pop out. Good Ross snipe takes out Hunbats. 2 low, Suku and Guan, but they cannot confirm it. We see Yanis ult come out. Ross still has some damage, but he misses the 1, and Yanis is going to escape. What a great team fight from Santa Monica.
Yeah, they really played around their low health pools at the end there perfectly. I mean, they perfectly handed off damage to the other person. Thunderfant and Dark Dinkshaw get out totally fine.
Yeah, that's the power of healing comps, especially later. If this was, say, 20 minutes of the game rather than how it is right now, we could have seen them heal back up and go straight for fire.
Yeah.
They do take Pyro.
It's a bit unfortunate the way that Sham's teleport worked out. He clearly was trying to instantly teleport to the Tsukuyomi, but sometimes the Hunbat's Sacred Monkey can so quickly bounce to another target, and you end up on a blue buff instead of on a enemy god.
Yes, that was definitely a little bit awkward. It's a difficult ability to use. It takes a while. You really need some comfort on it, because it's good to try to auto-attack cancel with a quick teleport, but sometimes it just puts you in the wrong position and you drop a kill for it.
Yeah.
And we see the lead has already spiraled even further up. It's about 4K ahead now. If they try to go for a Gold Fury, I'd like to see Santa Monica go for a Gold Fury at this point, especially since they have it warded, they have good vision, and they're so far ahead. I think they could easily do it, and I don't think there's anything ASU could do to stop it, except for maybe try to steal it with the Yanis ult.
The hope would be that I think Santa Monica is going to go ahead and start pulling this Gold Fury, but you want to see Red Vulcan make a play soon, because he's the only person on the team who is even or ahead of their counterpart in Santa Monica. So I think this is really going to come down to how well Red Vulcan can now respond to Santa Monica's aggression.
It's also interesting to see Crusher come out from Tsukuyomi. I personally like Yotun simply because he has pretty long cooldowns. Crusher is not at all wrong to build. It's just a different kind of playstyle, because Crusher gives you really big power boost early, and especially in those team fights, if you're only getting 1 rotation off of your abilities, it's definitely the right choice for itemization. And looks like he's chasing Sham out a little bit. Could be looking to invade this blue buff if Darkshaw comes over. Darkshaw is going to come over. We see 4 members. Visions decides to retreat back to middle lane. And now we have Sham and Revolution fighting Darkshaw. We see the Sacred Monkey bounce. That time was correct. He was going straight for the blue buff. Just get that nice and easy. Make sure Odin doesn't get any farther behind than he already is. And we do see the sledge come out from Odin. And we see Santa Monica pull the Gold Fury. I think this is definitely correct, especially since we just saw somebody in right. We see the Yanis ult actually hits it, but Raw confirm there's not much that beats that. We could see ASU look for a fight after the Gold Fury, and a good Yanis portal teleports Heim straight over to Prime, but Prime ults out, no problem. And that's probably going to be the end of this team fight.
They get the Jingwei ult off of it, not much else. I mean,
and we see Revolution almost gets soloed by Dark Dankshaw again.
And I think that's one of the problems with this picking up the sledge so early. I mean, the sledge really gets a lot of value when you're in a team fight. But if you're not in a team fight, it doesn't give you any physical protection. It doesn't give you...
Oh, it gives you 10.
10 physical protection. That clearly was not saving Revolution's health bar just now. He almost got soloed again. I feel like he should have gone for maybe a Contagion or some more physical defense item.
I agree. Contagion would have been pretty strong, especially since he's up against a healer. Sledge is really something. You're saying, I'm going to rotate early and I'm going to rotate often. But we have not seen that at all. Not entirely his fault. His team's just gone behind, so at that point you really don't want to. And we actually saw Thunderfant come around with the ultimate, looking to stop him from backing, but was just a little bit late. And now his ultimate is down, Thunderfant. And with this Crusher build, it's going to be a little bit later to come back up. Interesting to see him go straight into the Sledge after the Crusher. I personally probably would have preferred another damage item, especially since they're so far ahead at this point. But maybe he's a little bit worried about just getting blown up when he ults into, say, a big team fight.
I really like an early Sledge on Tsukuyomi just because he almost always ends up in the middle of the action, whether or not he wants to or not. But having the added protections and added damage of Sledge can just feel really good when it can make you get maybe 1 more ability off or 1 more auto attack off, and sometimes that can be the difference.
I agree. It's definitely a good item. He's about to start game 1. Well, my game. I got blown up quite often, ulting into 4 or 5 people. That's most of your late game. You got to be really careful about that target prioritization. We see Guan Yu successfully steal blue buff against 2 enemies, Sham and Revolution. Level 15 against level 12 and level 13. There is not much they can do. This Guan Yu feels unkillable right now, especially when his horse is up. There's almost no risk.
Yeah, and he always can just, if he takes any poke damage, he can just heal it right back up. It's maybe worth saying that ASU Black has 0 anti-heal outside of Sobek's Sickening Strike right now. They have none whatsoever. Hunbat's rushes Jotun's Wrath and Hydra's, which I admit are 2 items that feel so good on Hunbat's, but he needs a Brawler's Beatstick. And Yanis probably needs a Divine Ruin. I think anti-heal is the sort of thing that when you really realize that you need to buy it, it's probably too late. When it feels like you really need anti-heal, you've waited too long to buy it,
I agree. It looks like he's building a Pythags piece, which is going to boost the healing from both him and Guan Yu, but no, sorry, that's the
Janus.
wrong team I'm talking about. Yes, Yanis. I don't know what that is. What do you think that's going to be?
I think it's probably going to be a Soul Gem.
You're right. Soul Gem isn't
Soul
that true.
Gem is just such a strong item on Janus. He loves almost.
You see Yanis ultimate come out. I'm not sure what they were worried about. Maybe Pyro?
Maybe they were worried about a rotation from Guan Yu.
You see Thunderfant over in right lane again, maybe looking to kill this Odin. He decides against it. Probably smart. Odin is very difficult to kill. Solo laners are just pretty tough to kill. We see a good pluck onto Ra, a late beat. We could see a Hunbat's ult come out, and we do. This Ra is going to go down. They definitely needed this kill. And we see Thunderfan going all around the place. We see 4 low enemies. We see a shell come out from Santa Monica. A good pluck trying to get him all away from Odin. Odin jumps out.
And we see Sobek try to sacrifice himself there.
Sobek was stuck behind.
I think
you got at least 1 kill, but the odds or the numbers did not really work out for them there. That was a 1 for 2.
But Visions has now gone ahead and picked up the Soul Gem. And it's a really good pickup on Janus because you almost always have the Soul Gem damage proc, which does about 40% more damage, I think. And it almost is always up because all of his abilities proc Soul Gem. So it's going to add 1 stack to it. Normally that's not the case with most mages, but Janus is an exception.
Well, what's exceptional about him with Soul Gem is the fact that walking over your own threshold will give you the stack, whereas most assassins don't, or most mages don't have that. We see Thunderfant looking for an invade, and there we saw good beats from Thunderfant, stops Red Vulcan's ultimate right in its tracks, and we see a Ra ultimate come out, and Red Vulcan is counting his lucky stars as he gets out with maybe 20 HP. Prime example, might not want to give this up, but unfortunately doesn't really have much of a choice. Sham is here, but he just got his ultimate back up, and we see the wind, the 3 goes straight into the wall, and Sham is going to pick up this kill. That was another important kill onto a level 17 Jingwei. That's going to give a lot of gold to Sham, which he badly needed.
Prime example was just a little bit late on the beads, and that's why when he whipped his mouse around and tried to dash away, he ran into a wall rather than running out of the purple buff.
Bit of a misplay, but considering the league Santa Monica has, that alone's not going to change this game story as of right now.
It's ASU Black has managed to narrow the lead a little bit though, and that's something like it's good to see fight when you're down.
Earl's probably going to try to steal these. A good drop from Sobek. That was a smart play. And we see Earl invest the ultimate actually, and I think because of that they did get 1. I believe it was split vision there. We see Sham waiting for him right there. Sham is actually ahead of Earl now. That is pretty crazy, actually. Well, now they're both caught up. But to have a level lead at all when the enemy team is up 11-2, very good farming coming out from Sham.
And I think getting that kill over on Prime example and the shutdown bonus from the assist for killing Earl of Arms probably helped them out a lot.
I agree, for sure.
It's somewhat baffling to me that Sham's going for Heartseeker.
Or Transcendence.
It could be Trans as well, but I think probably Heartseeker over a Beatstick. I mean, Brawler's Beatstick, it's not always the item that will make you feel like you're doing the most in the game, but it's an item that will always help you, especially against a comp that has a Ra and a Guan Yu.
I agree. It's disappointing that we haven't seen any anti-heal come out yet. I assume Sobek is going to try to rectify that a little bit by building a Pestilence. But we absolutely should be seeing a Brawlers on Hunbats and probably a Divine onto Yanis. And we see ASU pull the Gold Fury, Primal Fury right now. And Thunderfant, as well as Mr. Pants, are rotating from mid right now. They could burn it, but they have to watch out for the Raw Steal. And Santa Monica does, just with that. We saw Hunbats try to prevent it with the ultimate, but he was actually CC immune Raw and the ultimate. Thunderfant picks up Sham on the back end, and now Visionaries just tries to get out unsuccessfully. Red Vulcan is getting a good back right there. Thunderfant tries to stop it, but unsuccessful.
I believe what happened is ASU saw Thunderfant in the solo lane on a ward, or maybe just in lane itself, and they made the call to instantly go to Gold Fury. And I like the call. They just didn't execute it quite right. It's difficult to out-secure a Raw ult, but I'm not sure what exactly got it. It might have been a Kuzumbo.
It was Raw ult.
Or stun, but
it was close. It was very close. Their game plan.
That.
Yeah, it was extremely close. Their game plan was definitely Hunbat's ult, the Raw, make sure he can't confirm. Between that second that he has to beat, he's probably not going to have time. But unfortunately, Sham drops the Fear No Evil at the exact same time that Earl ultimates. And that CC immunity from the Raw ultimate, the Searing Pain, manages to let him steal the Gold Fury. We see a bit of a boxing fight between Heim and Jingwei, but looks like not much happened there. Maybe Heim got the better end of it, which is a bit surprising, considering Prime is pretty far up. Still holding on to that mana potion. Maybe it's his good luck charm.
It's also pretty surprising that Prime has gone for this crit build that is really good at killing ADCs and mages, but not as good at killing tanks. Whereas Heim has gone for a Kinsai into another, attack speed item. So you'd usually expect Prime Example to win those little 1v1 skirmishes, but impressive play. But it looks like Isla is making a solo rotation over onto this Jingwei. There might be...
We see a dive in left lane. Jingwei is still very healthy, and Jingwei is one of the safer ADCs. It's very hard to chase down a Jingwei, especially with the Sobek, as what I was talking about before. She has the ability to just get out of his plucks or tail whips. Mr. Pants wants to chase this, but there's just nothing there. Good tail whip from Isla to stop any aggression. And that is now blinked down for Kuzumbo.
There's sort of another thing I think about, generally when you're down in Smite, you just want to regroup and farm. I know whenever I get behind, I just want to farm as much as I can.
We see a gank in right lane, Hunbats and Odin. Actually, they were just trying to defend their own jungle side, but nothing happens there. Guan Yu moves right out.
And when you're down in Smite, there's a reluctance to try to do objective or to force an objective. But I really like the call from ASU Black to take that Gold Fury or the fight early, even if it wasn't in their favor. Just the attempt indicates that they not only have a sign of life, but if they had gotten it, they would have narrowed the lead. They don't get it. Well, you got to think Santa Monica is going to get that Gold Fury eventually if you don't do anything about it. So I really liked that call, even though it was a bit ago, but
I agree. I think it was the right
to
choice.
take the objective there.
I think Santa Monica actually could have pulled Pyro right there, especially since Yanis just backed and they have such a ginormous lead. Maybe they're going to try for it right now. And they are. Maybe they can hear me. This should be pretty easy to confirm. Earl does have ultimate up. He should use it right now. And actually, he used a little bit late. Isla almost stole that, but Santa Monica still confirms it. Possibly with a probably Tsukuyomi.
It was a Jingwei auto. She has a lot of crit right now. I mean, she's finished this Rage. She's finished this Failnaught. On top of this, her Stim from her 2, which gives her an additional 20% crit chance. She is going to be doing a lot of crit damage to these objectives.
If we could pull up the damage charts here real quick, I wouldn't mind seeing kind of how this is playing out. And we see Guan Yu just having ridiculous, but most of that's going to be onto Odin, which isn't doing very much. We see Yanis down there even below Santa Monica's support. And that's not too uncommon, considering he's playing Yanis. You really don't have very much early game damage potential. But I'd like to see Yanis go very far up that chart, and it's going to have to if ASU wants to win this game. We see a good ultimate from Sham. Beads come out from Jingwei. He wants to chase that. It looks like Odin's going to go down from the damage from both Guan and Suku. Maybe he jumps straight out. Isla decides to burn the ultimate. And that's all she wrote for that team fight.
Well, no one died. You know for certain that Santa Monica is going to get the better end of this because they can just heal up all the damage they took.
We see 2 sentry wards and a whole lot of wards in the inventory of Santa Monica. I think they could pull fire right now, especially with this healing comp. And looks like that is what they're going to decide to do. We see Kuzumbo start it, and maybe ASU doesn't know. Odin's backing right now. He stopped the back. They definitely know.
We saw
right now it is a 4v5. Guan Yu's ulting, going straight onto the Heim. That's definitely the target he wants to be on. Heim uses the ultimate for the CC immunity and he gets out. Yanis portals himself out. See a Sacred Monkey bounce, but I do not think he's going to teleport into that one. And they see them restart the Fire Giant. And this is just the power of the healing comp from Santa Monica. They can do this all day, and eventually they'll just wear down ASU because they can heal and ASU can't. ASU does not want to give this one up. It's getting very low. They decide to drop it. Santa Monica does. And it's actually still onto Revolution, but now it stops. I think Santa Monica could still heal and try this again. They still have Ra ultimates. They have not used that excellent confirm. We see Suku ultimate. We see Aegis come out from both Yanis and Heim. We saw a Hunbat's ult get dropped him it, and he takes out Jingwei. Kuzenbo's low. Odin and Bats are trying to take him out. On the back end, Earl takes out Red Vulcan. Earl is pretty low. Sham takes out Kuzenbo, and looks like Revolution is fighting both Guan and Ra. Guan's ultimate is up again, and he finishes off Odin. And this is a 3 for 2 as it stands. Suku with 1 HP, barely getting out of that. Oh, he's looking to get it. If he has Sickening Strike, he could finish it, but unfortunately, I assume he did not. And Thunderfant picks it up.
Just a little bit too slow, or just Thunderfant was just a little bit too far away. That ended up being a 4 for 2 in Santa Monica's favor, but considering if you didn't take that fight, you probably would have lost Fire Giant. I think ASU is probably happy with their decision to take that fight.
It's important to note... go on, Beatles.
No, you got it.
It's important to note that both of the carries, Heim and Yanis, used their Aegis in that team fight. And Yanis used his beads as well. So if Santa Monica wanted to, they could all respawn and go straight back to that Fire Giant. And we could see Thunderfant, say, use his ultimate again on those two targets, just as he did last time. And this time, they're not going to be able to Aegis out most of the damage.
Picking up that Oni Fury is going to be problematic for ASU Black, because they're going to have to deal with Oni waves in the left lane, mid lane, and solo lane, while Santa Monica is going on the Fire Giant. So someone's going to have to make a rotation over on this left lane to clear those minions, or else they're just going to lose their tower and probably Phoenix as well.
And we do see Yanis moving up that player damage chart, just like I hoped he would. He's now past Santa Monica's Hunter, as well as Kuzenbo.
But we really see Sham doing a ton of damage for ASU Black. I mean, he's at nearly 14k damage. He's finally picked up this beatstick that I've wanted him to have for so long. And I'm just happy. I'm really like the direction that this game has gone for Sham.
You see Sham go straight into a Yanis portal. That was excellent portal. Beats still used, even though Fear No Evil was a little bit off, and Sham does pick up the kill barely, maybe 5 HP, 17 HP. You'd have to be upset if you're Prime. But because they invested so much on killing him, Santa Monica picks up this Fire Giant, just as they should.
I'm surprised Revolution didn't make a rotation over that FG. Maybe ASU just weren't aware that they were going on Fire Giant, but I think he could have contested, at least with a bird bomb over the wall, maybe.
We see a Sentry Ward from Santa Monica over at Fire, and both of the wards closest are Santa Monica, but there are also some pretty close ASU ones. I'd be surprised if not a single member of Santa Monica popped up on one of those wards. Maybe they just thought they couldn't fight it, and they just wanted to take out the ADC while they could, which is pretty important for ASU. Obviously, the push potential for Santa Monica is pretty low without Prime, their ADC. And we probably are going to see a Searing Pain over the wall, maybe, to try to steal. Actually, ASU pulls right off. And Odin walks right into the wrong part of town, manages to escape, and Santa Monica picks up this Pyro. Nice and easy. Odin ult is used, and he's going to walk right out of that one. We see Heimdall split pushing in left lane, but the power of Jingwei passive lets her get right back up.
But I think that's exactly where Heimdall wants to be. I mean, it might be difficult to fight a Jingwei this late into the game, of course, but when you're down like this, it's worth trying to split the map as much as possible. And Prime Example is the only person on the team who does not have Fire Giant. So if Prime isn't even in your fights at these tier 2 towers, if he's held stuck up defending left lane, that's going to make it so much easier to defend because you don't need to worry about Jingwei's huge tower damage because she's the main tower pushing on the team.
That's definitely true. That's not a bad play for ASU to just keep focusing out Prime. We see Prime has now moved up quite a bit on that player damage chart, possibly getting some hits off onto Heim or maybe in these team fights. We see a absolutely massive 14, 15k lead. Vision manages to pick up Prime again. We see a lot of investment there on Prime, just like we had hoped. Dankshaw does manage to pick up Red Vulcan, but Dankshaw's pretty low. Looks like they're going to back up and heal.
Mr. Pants managed to push out Visions from coming into that team fight, and that was just a great play
Good,
by the
Mr.
support.
Pants. See another heal come out. Again, this is the power of that healing comp. ASU wants to just sit under their Phoenix, but if they do that, Santa Monica is going to be full HP before they know it. Looks like we're going to see Odin back to get some HP. And now Santa Monica is taking this T2, just tanking it up with the healing. It's no problem. We see Thunderfant going in with the ultimate. This should take out Hunbats. Ooh, Hunbats does go down, but to Odin. Saw Earl try to snipe, but doesn't hit anything. Isla manages to pick up Thunderfant, and that is huge. Thunderfant was 7-1, worth a ton of gold. That's going to put Isla in a much tankier position. And I don't think Santa Monica take this Phoenix. They do not.
They definitely can't anymore. I mean, they've lost their main setup from Tsukuyomi, who's just been doing everything for them in all these team fights. So they're just going to take it slow, wait for him to come back, take us, strip the map of all the farm, and maybe you go for this next Fire Giant in a minute, maybe take the Gold Fury in 40 seconds. They've got a lot of opportunities to get even further ahead than they already are. And just in case you are keeping track at home, they're nearly 17,000 gold up 17,000 gold up right now. 30 minutes into the game. That's a huge lead, even though people are starting to round out their builds. In about 3 minutes or so, in about 3 minutes, I'd say, I imagine ASU's Black will have finished almost all of their builds. So if Santa Monica wants to really keep this gold and XP lead, around, they need to turn it into Primal Furies, Oni Furies, and Fire Giants.
Santa Monica is definitely in the driver's seat right now. Interesting to see a Charon's coin come out from Visions this late in the game. That's something you need to get stacks to really be useful, but maybe he's counting that this game goes on for a while and he can finish stacking that. But like I was saying before, Santa Monica definitely in the driver's seat, but tremendous defense coming out from ASU Black. Especially with a lead this big, you'd expect this game to be over 5-6 minutes ago. But ASU's dragging this out, and we see an attempted ult steal from Visions. I probably would have liked to see him hold on to that, considering how important that can be in defenses. And one, what was that, Primal Fury?
Yeah.
It's really not that important at this stage in the game, but decides to use it for a little steal. And we'll see if ASU can keep holding on to their base like they have been. But Enhanced Fire Giant is coming up soon, and that makes it much more difficult for ASU.
I think Visions is going to be flying in the face of my suggestion that he even gets Divine Ruin, as he's decided to go ahead and buy Rod of Tahuti for his last item. Rod of Tahuti is obviously a great item for getting more damage. It feels so good to have on any mage, especially Janus. And I think his plan is probably just to eliminate Prime Example and Earl of Arms. He doesn't really need to kill the other targets as much. As long as he can take out one of the carries, I think Santa Monica is going to be, or ASU is going to be happy.
And this should be a free Fire Giant for Santa Monica. We see Hunbats and Heimdall pushing down the left lane, which means to me they're not even going to try to take it, even though it's the Enhanced Fire Giants. And that looks to be ASU's game plan. Just take the T2. We'll have to see if Santa Monica decides to back, and
they do.
They do.
Back.
Guan and Thunderfan back, and now does Kuzenbo and Ra.
Man, I don't know if that was the right decision. I feel like they could have maybe defended. Getting a tier 2 tower is nice, of course. You get a little bit of gold, but I'd rather that tier 2 tower still be up, and I don't need to defend against an EFG against this team comp that's so good at sieging with this constant heals. And ASU Black isn't all that good at base defense because they don't have a good mage to clear these waves. Janus's main defense strategy is to move into an opposite lane and ult back into the lane where people are at and just try to hope he hits them with the ult.
I agree. At the very least, I believe Vision should have tried to ult and steal that. That would have been a much more important objective than the Primal Fury. And maybe it happens. It can be very hard to predict something like that. But now we have an Enhanced Fire Giant Santa Monica team barreling down towards the Phoenixes. And to me, ASU's decision to give up fire is, especially I guess since last time they had a successful defense, they're banking on the fact that we can defend these Phoenixes. So now we're going to have to see if that confidence, if they have anything to back it up. All ultimates up for everyone. We're going to have to see a really good Hunbats ult. But we do have beads up for everyone on the other lane. Good pluck by Isla, straight into Guan Yu. But Guan Yu's just going to back up, and now he's full HP. That's the power of this healing comp.
Absolutely, and we go ahead and see Thunderfant splitting this siege, going to the mid lane, trying to focus down this.
And Isla back, and we see a Guan Yu ultimate come straight in. Hunbat's ultimate doesn't really get much. Janus ultimate follows it up. Again, not much there. Mr. Pants is stuck in. He gets sent to Niflheim, And now we have Isla diving on the Ra. Odin is pretty low. Yanis might be able to finish this. We see Mr. Pants spinning his way out of there. And Fant is going to try to pick up this Hunbats. He cannot, but he does manage to ult Yanis. Yanis uses his Aegis, but he manages to get back. Odin picks up Guan Yu. And we see Heim go down. And now it is a 4-on-4. I think this is honestly about as good as you could have hoped for ASU. They only lost, no, they lost 2 Phoenixes, actually.
They lost 2 Phoenix, yeah.
So
I think ASU's hoping that could have gone a little bit better, but they're of course happy to take out Dangshaw.
And Yanis doesn't want to give this up.
Damage.
We're going to see Sham come back. I think this fight continues.
I think this is a fight you probably have to take. I mean, you can't just let you can't let Santa Monica College take all your Phoenix and you don't get anything back. I think ASU definitely wants to get something a little bit more.
Hunbats is back up. His ultimate, Sham's ultimate, is back up. He could look in. I think if that Sacred Monkey hit, maybe he's going to go in, but we could still see a Hunbats ultimate come out. I assume he got some beats last time. There it is. It's all 4. Aegis come out from Jingwei and Ra. Now that Kuzenbo is stuck in the Odin cage, but a terrific ultimate from Earl of Arms takes out Sham.
That was such a great ult by Sham. It is so unfortunate that they couldn't manage to follow up on it and properly kill Earl of Arms, Thunderfant, and Prime Example, who honestly all should have died there.
That's exactly what they needed.
Yeah. But they still couldn't capitalize. I think that might just be a byproduct of being down, 20k 30 minutes into the game.
And, great pluck onto this Jingwei, but Jingwei manages to get out. And now we see Tsukiyomi ult onto Yanis. Yanis smart to hold that portal until after the thing finished. We see again Heim ultimate onto Kuzenbo. Kuzenbo goes down. Oh, terrific Ra ult hits both and takes out the Heim. And now all that is left is Yanis, who is busy clearing waves, and Odin. And I think Santa Monica just walks this one down.
Yeah, this is looking rough for ASU Black. But they have Sham coming up in 2 seconds,
Prime
and he has
for the kill.
ult.
A little bit cheeky. Good ultimate from Humbat, but
isn't enough. And Santa Monica's going to go ahead and take that game somewhat convincingly. It might have taken them a while, 35 minutes all in all, but they were leading the entire game. It never really once seemed like they were even going to lose.
I don't know. There were some moments that I thought ASU could pull it back. That Hunbat's ultimate in middle lane was prime example. They didn't have beads, Santa Monica. So I think they could have pulled that back if maybe it's executed a little bit better. I saw some really good Phoenix defenses from ASU. Honestly, about all I could have hoped for when you're that far down. When you're that far down, you need both Santa Monica to just screw up really bad, and you need perfect execution. And I think the execution was, I'd call it great, but Santa Monica was playing pretty lights out. So there was just not that window of opportunity.
Earl of Arms especially impressed me on this Raw. While his KDA might not jump out at you at only 4-2 and 11, and while there's certainly players on his team with better KDAs like Thunderfant and Dangshaw, this Raw was doing so much damage in the team fights, and he was healing a ton. But perhaps most importantly is all of his damage in these team fights was relevant. Like, he was hitting carries with his ult. He was killing so many people with his ult in his one. Earl of Arms played especially well. I don't think I would give this Raw back to Santa Monica.
And we see from healing numbers alone, we have Raw 17,000, 6,000 nearly on Guan Yu. And if you add those up, that's basically Sham's player damage completely neutralized. The guy that I think was doing the most for ASU in most of that game. Visions had some pretty big plays late, but that's just how Yanis is. And that just feels horrible. And maybe Sham, maybe he's rethinking his decision by Brawlers so late.
I think ASU Black was kind of put all their chips on this Odin cage working out, and it unfortunately just didn't for them. I think the strategy is viable, and it can work sometimes, but just in this game, this execution didn't go out.
I agree.
Anyway, we're going to head into a short break real quick, I think, and we'll be right back.
work on it. I put in work on the bass. Put in work on it. I put in work on the bass. I put in work on the bass. Put in work on it. I put in work on the bass. Put in work on the bass. Put in work on the bass. I put in work on the bass. What's up?
back, getting into game 2 soon of the Santa Monica versus ASU game. Last match, that was pretty exciting. I think all the Smite fans out there could agree. We saw maybe not a extremely close game, but that was by no means a blowout. Anything over 30 minutes. But we're gonna go straight to picks and bans here. We'll keep breaking down last match a little bit over as we cover these bans. But do you think we're gonna see any target bans come out here, Beatles?
I could see ASU Black taking away something, and they go ahead and take away the Tsukuyomi right away. Don't want to give that back over. I think that's
Thundercat ran it
ban.
well. He was,
Yeah.
I think, 7-0 at one point. Very big. I think he started 4-0 within like 4 minutes. So he was just very big, very fast.
Taking that away is absolutely no surprise. And they're going to go ahead and take another shot at Thunderfan, take away that Nemesis. Nemesis is still such a strong god. No surprise there.
I believe Santa Monica was the team that banned Set last time. So we'll have to see if they decide to choose it, knowing how strong that pick can be. And now they have choices. Cthulhu is still up. He's very strong. We see, obviously, the strong ADCs, Cupid, Rom. Those are still up.
Yeah, I think ASU might try to take away this Ra even, or the Guan. I mean, both picks just sort of ran their respective lanes, and you might not want to give it back. But I would be totally fine if ASU, they take away the Ra, and I think they're going to try to pick up Yanis again for Visions. He looks pretty good on it. I just don't know if it was the best comp to run Yanis against.
I think the problem with Yanis is pretty much what we saw that game. It just takes a long time to become relevant. He was sitting at the very bottom of damage charts, barely above his own support, up until, I think, 17 or 18 minutes. After that point, he got up real fast, but it can just be a very slow start. And ASU needs to make sure they do not get as far behind as fast as they did Game 1. Or Game 2 could have a similar result.
And that's not to say that Visions played badly as Yanis in the early game. Yanis is just not a god designed to do damage that early in the game. Santa Monica's going to go ahead and take away that ever-annoying Cthulhu that leaves open the set. There's actually a lot left over. The set's open, most notably, probably.
Sets can be very good in the right hands. You don't see him too often in competitive just because he can be blown up pretty fast. He doesn't have any CC. He's similar to Tsukuyomi, actually, in the sense that your CC is basically damage, but Tsukuyomi also has that ultimate where he can instantly get to you, and he has at least one stun. Set does not have a stun at all, or any form of hard C, if I remember correctly, but he does have teleport, so he can go around, and he can kill a single target better than essentially anyone else in the game. And we see Guanyu locked in this time for ASU. That could be, again, respect for the way Santa Monica played it last game.
You have to think it has to be. I mean, Guanyu is not really being first picked right now in the meta, but the way it was so dominant in that soul lane for Santa Monica, and it really felt like there's nothing Revolution could do to counter it. So what do you got to do then? You take the pick away. Santa Monica is going to go ahead and take away the Sobek away from ASU Black. I like that change. I think Sobek's really strong, like I was talking about before. And I wonder if they're just going to do a sort of support swap, and ASU might pick up a Kuzumbo.
Isla played the Sobek well. There were a lot of really good plucks that very nearly got important kills. Some of them did happen, but a lot of the time there just wasn't enough damage because at that point ASU was so far behind. But either way, Isla piloted the Sobek very well. And again, talking about a good pick from ASU, Hunbats, Sham played it tremendously. He was, I think, their most important player for getting them as far in the game as they did. Mm-hmm. And Morgan picked up as well.
Sham was super impactful on this Hunbats, and it's no surprise to see Visions pick up a somewhat similar mage to Janice in that you sort of want to slither around the map, do damage to carries in like one big blow, and pick up this Morgan, one of the strongest mages in the game right now. She, of course, can turn into this Cupid, or turn into the Sobek, or turn into the Guanyu, turn into the Hunbats. I mean, there are a lot of good transform targets, but I really like the duo lane from Santa Monica College so far. Sobek and Cupid is just a very classic aggression lane. It's so easy to get an early kill, and ASU Black hasn't picked their ADC or support at all yet, so they might not get the best of the tier list, so to speak.
Discordia is an interesting pick. You don't see it too often, but often enough that it's, I wouldn't say it's off meta. Discordia, similar to Yanis, can feel very weak in the early game. She pretty much depends on her 2 and 1 to instantly kill someone, but early game you just don't have the damage for that. The apple is good damage, but it's not huge. but it can be outstanding in team fights when it'll spread to everyone. But right now, I'm really liking ASU's draft. I think Guan Yu and Hunbat especially is such a terrific change for the Morgan. If Sham ults first and gets everyone's beads off of Santa Monica, then Visions can quickly just transform into Hunbats and again drop another Fear No Evil, with this time no beads. We see Set get banned out this time, followed by a Ram and Kuzumbo.
It's a bit surprising to me that Santa Monica took Discordia over Set. I mean, it seems pretty unlikely that ASU Black would ever ban Discordia, considering unless these two teams have scripted each other and they just happen to know that Discordia is really good pick. I mean, they're just better bans at the moment in like the Janus or the Hera, or, you know, a plethora of others. But I like to see Santa Monica taking away the support of Kuzumbo, because I think outside of the big three, Yamoja, Kuzumbo, Sobek, it's somewhat difficult to find great support picks. There's of course some left open, like Ymir's still good. Jing 10, while not top of the meta right now, is certainly good for CC burning. It's going to pair very nicely with this Hunbats. And Hachiman as well is a pretty safe hunter to pair against a Sobek or Cupid. I mean, he just has great damage, good aggression, but he's also really safe if he needs to be.
I think outside of Sham in the jungle, I think the duo lane of ASU actually held their own quite well against Santa Monica, especially being that far down. So we'll have to see. Hachiman is generally a safer pick, something I think a lot of people will play if they're not feeling too confident. So it's a little bit interesting to see it picked here for ASU, but it could do good work. But I'm loving ASU's draft. Morgan could transform into Jing or Hunbat. It's going to be very difficult for Santa Monica to not get hit by one of those three big CC ultimates.
It's interesting to see Santa Monica go for this Camazotz. Well, it's really nice that he has a CC immunity on his ultimate. He lacks in CC of his own. I mean, Santa Monica College, just as a team here, doesn't have the most CC. They have Cupid ult, Sobek CC, and the Pluck, and the Tail Whip. Sun Wukong stun, and maybe Discordia taunt if you can really rely on that, which is Discordia 2 is an incredibly difficult ability to consistently land.
We're ready for the game here. About to go right into it. We'll have to see how these drafts play out. But as I said, I just love ASUs, especially in team fights. And Thunderfant, last time on the Tsukuyomi, so he's pretty familiar with jungles that are all about damage and not so much CC. Camazotz is a pretty similar vein.
Absolutely. And I think I fully agree. And I think ASU's comp here is just so good. I mean, it has everything you want. It has big AoE damage. It has great single target damage. It has great CC. I just don't really see there's no obvious weakness.
I agree. I think that in team fights, we're going to have to see how well ASU can work these ultimates. It isn't going to be important to not drop them all at the same time. If we see any miscommunications like that, it could go very bad for ASU very fast, because in that window that purification beats, they could get out of all of them.
Mm-hmm. It's really, highlighting Mr. Pants as in prime example's ability to be aggressive here. Mr. Pants has decided to pick up a horrific emblem, a support item that is, well, I love my supports to have a horrific emblem because I like to play super aggressively. It's somewhat, a bit greedy. If you're not going to go for early kills, it's not the most useful early on.
We also saw ASU decide not to go for their XP Harpy, and they're going back for it now. But sorry, I cut you off. Continue there, Beatles.
No, that's good. It's just a difficult relic to make early use out of if you don't want to be aggressive. So to me, that's clearly saying that this duo lane is going to be fighting.
We could see a fight here. ASU went back up to lane, and they don't see Santa Monica's right behind them. They're on the wrong tower, and Morgan's going to go down. Just poor awareness there. I can't believe Santa Monica didn't, or ASU didn't see Santa Monica come right behind them. They saw them at mid camps.
Yeah, they were fighting over the mid camps, and they just, sometimes you just lose sight of the enemy. And
we see 4 members of Santa Monica come over to confirm this red buff. Sham is not going to have a chance to secure that. Oh, great pluck onto Isla. But Isla manages out, and that is the shell, and Santa Monica is going to invade the blue buff, or the red buff, sorry. But actually, ASU managed to conform it with, I think, the Morgan.
It was Morgan too, yeah. Visions had a great steal there. I mean, it's that is not an ability that does a lot of damage this early. It does very little. The fact that he managed to steal it's somewhat impressive.
And it's not huge, but a red buff, especially this early, any XP matters, especially when you're trying to hit 3. So that slows down the aggression a little bit. And interesting counter matchup we didn't really talk about in picks and bans. Camazotz into Morgan. His one, if he lands it on somebody and then picks up the echolocation rebound, he reveals vision for, I believe, only himself. But he will be able to track down Morgan despite her invisibility if he can manage to hit it.
Yeah, Camazotz is an excellent matchup for against the Morgan. One, because he can always track her down. Two, because the Morgan just does not have a great way of dealing with him or getting herself away from Camazotz's damage. If Camazotz is on top of the Morgan, it's so difficult for her to deal with it at all.
We'll probably just see transformations forced out of Visions if Thunderfan decides to go that route of just attacking Visions the whole game. And we see blue buff confirmed from ASU. Hopefully they can defend that blue buff a little bit better than last time. Last time Dank was getting it essentially, well, not all the time, but fairly often, enough to put Revolution pretty far behind.
But this solo lane so far definitely going better than last time. There's no early solo kills, no early disparity. Guan Yu has his ever important blue buff. It's a good start for Revolution.
And a much better start for ASU. I think at this point they were already down 4 kills. The only kill so far has just been a bit of a blunder. Oh, but we see Thunderfan blink in, and he immediately hits the ultimate and the 1. We see Visions transform into Huntbats and drop Fear No Evil. Thunderfan goes for a few little swipes in his ultimate and then backs off. I believe Visions actually hit 5 in the middle of that, so pretty lucky.
He did. It's somewhat interesting that he instantly turned into Hunbats. I would, of course you don't have much time when you're being attacked.
Dank is getting a lot of damage off here on Guan, but nope, Guan just heals it, and he did have ultimate, so he wasn't in too much danger.
Yeah. But when you're in a fight, you just kind of got to pick a god and go with it. But yeah, I would have liked to see him go with maybe something a bit safer, like the Camazotz or Sun Wukong.
We see good Wukong. Cudgel, he actually could kill him with this. Ooh, barely. Maybe 3 HP. Was that 2? 3 HP? That was very close. And 3 HP. It was pretty lucky. ASU last time got out pretty cleanly a few times with very low HP.
And you got to think if he had hit the chalice, his health chalice, maybe a few seconds later, he would have died there. I mean, that's the sort of the margin that Dangshaw was dealing with, but he definitely got the better end of Revolution there.
We see Prime this time pick up the mana buff. Oh no, he had the mana buff last time as well, so interesting that he goes for this mana buff. I guess he feels like he uses a lot of mana over in the Hunter role. A little bit unusual, but it worked last game. Although I don't think he ever actually used it, so we'll have to see if he does this game.
Yeah, it's not the most traditional.
See a good Jam ultimate come out and followed up by the Jing ultimates, but it looks like Fant was able to just beads and jump out. And that's what I was saying about stacking CC. I think if ASU waited a little bit when they used that Jing ultimate, maybe they could have got it. Or maybe Jing ult before Hunbat's ult. Jing ultimate has a notoriously long wind-up time, so it's very easy to jump out of.
The strange thing is that Fant does not have beads. His blink.
Oh, you're right.
So
I actually don't know how
he must have just found the right time right after the Hunbat's ult wore off, and right before he would have been picked up by Isla's ult. I think that won't happen all the time. That might have been a bit of luck, but certainly an impressive play by Thunderfan again.
I think more than an impressive play by Thunderfan, just poor execution from ASU. Thunderfan, he was stuck under CC. He just got lucky with the jump, but ASU definitely needs to work on timing that CC, because there are definitely some windows between when Fant is still getting feared by Fear No Evil, when Isla could start charging pick it up. We see a good pluck come out of Pants, but Jing, a very safe support, can just jump right out of there. We see Santa Monica as a ward right there on the tower line of ASU.
Thunderfan used his jump to get over that wall, but I think he's just going to get out just fine.
See a bit of a lead coming, about nearly 1k for Santa Monica. Nothing huge, but farming, I'd say a little bit better, although most of that kill is probably just off the first blood.
And you have to think that this favors ASU Black here. The longer this game goes, the happier ASU Black probably is. While Discordia is one of the best late game mages, I'd say the Morrigan is just as good, if not better. And just all of ASU Black's comp get better in the late game. Hachiman
Revolution, a bit of a mistake from Dank. Probably did not mean to bird there. Most likely looking for the Tiger. But he he actually doesn't even have ultimate. So maybe Guan Yu could have turned that around.
Revolution didn't have his ult, so he might have just been able to... Guan Yu doesn't have the most damages so early in the game.
See them pretty deep, ASU, playing pretty aggressively. Fenton rotating around now. But it is very good to see, well, for ASU, it's probably very confidence-inspiring to have a bit of an advantage, I would say, over in that solo lane. And we can see one level up for Guan Yu, whereas last time at this point he was quite far behind. And what do you think about Soul Leader coming out from Sen Wukong?
It's an item I really like to see when you have this sort of disparity in aggression in the solo lane. Like Sun Wukong is very good at being aggressive, not so great at being, he can be passive if he wants to, but he likes to do as much damage as he can. The Soul Leader is just going to help him do that, and it'll help him get some much needed sustain against a Guan Yu who can always heal up. I'm interested in seeing what Revolution's going to do in response to it, if he's going to go for the sledge like he did last game, or if he'll maybe go for a different item.
I'd like to see a breastplate. We do see Santa Monica ward onto ASU's red buff, but do not elect to try to steal it or anything like that. Well, going back to builds, how about Shoes of Focus onto Sobek?
I like it. I almost always build Shoes of Focus to my supports just because I like to be aggressive as support. I think using your CC as often as you can is just the best way to play support, because you're more likely to get beads, you're more likely to make a play or force something out. So it's a play I'm happy to see. But we have a gank over in left lane.
We do. We see Sham goes right on to Prime Example. Prime Example is very low, but it looks like barely manages to get out. And I believe I heard the Fear No Evil sound, and I did. Sham dropped it, but could not confirm the kill. Would keep it dead, burn his ultimate and his beads. So we could see Sham try to look for a kill, while Prime does not have that very important relic to keep him safe.
Although I'm pretty surprised that Cupid got out there, because Red Vulcan had his ultimate and he just decided to hold on to it, I suppose. That was just a prime opportunity to use the Hachiman ultimate to go ahead and kill this Cupid, and I guess he just missed it.
Might have been a little bit too far up the lane. I'm not sure, but at the very least, I am shocked that Prime was able to get out of that. He's pretty low. So we see maybe a little bit of blunders, misplays coming out from ASU. But so far, nothing huge, and they're certainly in a much better position than they were last game at this time.
Absolutely. They have a slight XP deficit, about a level on net, but nothing to be too concerned about yet. I like this Earl of Arms rushing Charon's coin is pretty interesting to me. I like the idea of it because you can start stacking Charon's coin really early on, but you don't get as much use out of the percent penetration. So I don't know if it's great this early on, because you'd much rather have percent penetration later on in the game, and early on you'd rather have flat penetration because people don't have their protections built yet.
Like Dank is coming to look for a gank here in middle lane. I believe he does have beads up, or blink rather, and they go in, and looks like Dank wants to keep going. Great pluck onto the Hunbats. Hunbats jumps right out. Visions jumps in, and with the Hunbat's ultimate followed up by the Guan Yu ultimate, they manage to take out Mr. Pants. Earl of Arms returns a kill. Jing throws 2. They take out another Hunbat's ultimate. This one is from Sham. We see Prime drop his Cupid ultimate. Should take out Guan Yu. Hunbats goes in. Isla's tanking tower. Takes a few tower shots, but manages right out. And all in all, that was a very great team fight from ASU, actually. Surprisingly, because Santa Monica actually had the advantage with Dank coming in.
Yeah, going into that, Santa Monica had a quicker rotation. They had a small lead, but ASU
looked like they're about to try to pick up the
3-2.
Cupid, but nope, Cupid dashes out, no problem. And I think that's just the power of ASU's team comp. We saw Jing ultimate and 2 Hunbats ultimates, and anyone that has beads on the sides of Santa Monica, it's currently on cooldown, although Primes is about to come back up. So there's really not much you can do in that team fight.
And then one of the big difference makers for ASU Black is that Red Vulcan out-rotated Prime Example. While Dangshaw rotated quicker than Revolution, the fact that Hachiman could get there and impact the team fight so quickly might have been what made the difference for ASU Black.
I think Santa Monica might have just been getting a little bit too ahead of themselves. Dank used his ultimate to dive the T1 tower, which led to his death pretty quick. So maybe last game having such a big lead, they're underestimating ASU a little bit. But we'll have to see if they correct their aggressiveness a little bit.
Last game I sort of criticized Revolution for going for this early sledge, but here it worked out really well because he got almost full use out of it in that team fight.
I think Breastplate of Valor is Also a very effective item on Guan Yu. I'd like to see him buy it at some point. It doesn't look like he will. It looks like he's going to Void Shield, or maybe a
Void Shield or maybe Gladiator Shield.
yeah, one of those two. We'll have to see which one he goes for. Glad Shield is pretty powerful now, doing extra damage based on your total protections. So we'll have to see. Very good item. Bit of just damage over in the solo lane. Nothing much going on. And we see fans pick up a quick Brawlers. And it looks like Sham this time is also going into a Brawlers.
I think Sham might be going for
See a bit of a fight onto Fance, but
Crusher.
Fance gets out. Good pluck straight onto Isla. Isla does not have jump, so it goes straight into the ultimate. Does manage to hit the Discordia, pulls him back. Cupid ultimate hits all of them. We see a Hunbat's ultimate come out from Visions, which is terrific. Manages to pick up Earl. So far, it is a 1-for-2, favoring ASU. Sham also picks up Prime. Visions onto Mr. Pants. We see Fant pick up Hachi on the back. And now we have 2 low HP targets for Fant to pick up. And Fant is going to chase it. He manages to hit the 2. And Sham jumps straight on his head, but then Fant turns around and hits him with the 1. And I think overall, that would be a 3-for-3.
4-for-3 in Santa Monica's favor, I think. I think Visions just had a small misplay at the end there. As soon as you got the invisibility off, I think you're supposed to separate from Sham and just go a different direction that your jungler is moving. Because you know he's going to chase down Sham at the very least, so you want to try to minimize the loss you'll get.
It was definitely a bit of a, like, a lot of things going on all at once. So I don't blame either team for getting a little bit lost there, especially when you have a Jing ultimate and 2 Hunbat's ultimates. There's a lot to keep track of. But in these team fights, again, we're seeing the power of ASU's comp. I think the Hunbat's ultimates worked out very well. It looks like Vision, I believe, dropped his first, and it can just lead to a whole lot of good. And they almost came out ahead there on kills, but Thunderfant managed to just come in and swing it around for his team and pick up the advantage.
Thunderfant's really playing cleanup crew this game. He's just tailing the low health targets who try to escape, and it's working out well. He's got nearly a full 2-level lead on Sham right now. It's just a little bit under 2. He's up in gold. He's up in damage. I mean, Thunderfant's going to be swinging for a lot of damage right now.
And we see Revolution solo dank, the exact opposite of what happened in last game. That's got to feel good for him. I think Guan Yu's just very powerful right now. And it looks like he is building into a Void Shield. And is that a, I can't think of the item name. Beatles, help me out here. The one that gives you a big shield. Pridwin, I believe? Pridwin coming out from Sobek. Looks like they are going to pick up Guan Yu,
Yes.
Thunderfans, and good ultimate from Sham manages to zone them out. And Revolution's just going to be able to jump his way out of there.
Yeah, Revolution will get out just fine. And yes, that is a Pridwin coming out of Sobek. Pridwin's just such a great item for a Guardian. It gives 20% CDR, 30 of each protection, and has a wonderful passive that does more damage, or that makes your ult do more damage, and gives you a big shield right after using it. It's a perfect item for Sobek who wants to have his cooldowns, who wants to constantly using his ability, so I like to see it.
And we see the kills tied 7-7, gold essentially tied, XP roughly tied. The biggest lead right now, actually, is the one that Revolution has over Dank, a 2-level lead. Again, kind of the opposite of what we saw last time. Sham might look for a attack here, but Prime dashes out, and the Sacred Monkey does not hit either. Santa Monica smartly picks up the Pyro, and in return, ASU pulls this Gold Fury. Or they thought about it, but decided against it. They did only have a 3-on-3 there. So Santa Monica essentially gets Pyromancer for free.
Yeah, I mean, I think Thunderfant just made a good call to go ahead and take that Gold Fury take the Pyromancer while the rest of the team were fighting, skirmishing around Gold Fury, and it just happened to work out in their favor.
We didn't talk about it, but Camazotz is one of the best assassins at soloing objectives with all the healing he gets, and his passive also gets some extra healing when used on jungle camps. I believe Pyromancer counts for that.
It does.
Yeah.
And Camazotz is just so great at healing himself up that it might be worth picking up anti-heal against it, but it seems like ASU's Black has made the decision to not get anti-heal this game again. I'm fine with it here. All of Santa Monica's healing is kind of out of combat healing anyway, so.
We see in middle lane, Guan Yu's going to run straight into Fans and Dank. Let's see if anything happens there. Xingqian is running in. Revolution getting a bit of damage out on fans, but he just jumps straight out. We could see a Hunbat's ult. We do see a Jing ultimate. Looks like, I don't think any beads were burned. I think Fant just managed to get out of it, or Pants managed to get out of it just with the lurking in the waters. And not much happened. We'll see if either team decides to turn their attention to the Gold Fury. Maybe. We see Sobek and Sun Wukong hanging around. Visions goes around to hit the Sobek and immediately transforms into Bat. Terrific transform straight into the Hunbat's ultimate. There is nothing Sobek could have done there. Now we see them going on Earl. We have the slow come out from Sham, followed by the overhead smash, which misses. Unfortunate. Oh, they pick it up on the back end, and Fance goes straight in and cleans up Sham. We have Dank up in the cloud. Looks like he wants to chase Visions out. Visions hits the stun. And Isla keeps Vision safe. We see a bit of a fight over there. Guan Yu with Camozotz and Cupid. Looks like Fance. Now we have Sun Wukong rotating in. Guan Yu is going to go down.
And that'll make it a 2-for-2 for each team. I mean, that looks like a great fight for ASU Black, but it seems like it might turn around on its head.
And Santa Monica picks up the Gold Fury. Fance looks like is on zone duty, which is working quite well. They're very afraid of him. Hachiman, I can see why. They're both under half HP. And it's just a quick Gold Fury for Santa Monica. So now Santa Monica has gotten both Pyro and Gold Fury, and we see the result of that on the gold difference chart. 3K now. This was an even game not long ago, and it's still even as far as kills. But Santa Monica just seems to be doing better with objective control so far.
Absolutely. And Thunderfan's just making more of an impact with this level lead. I mean, he's up 3 levels now on to Sham. It is difficult for Sham to really counteract. And we see Hachiman ult forced out by Thunderfan's rotation. I mean, it's another example of Camazot's level lead and, you know, current damage output. Just take advantage of ASU Black.
Like Sham was trying to fight Dank, but he lost half of his HP in the process. It's going to be very difficult for an assassin to take out Sun Wukong, even on level. I think Crusher's an interesting pick for Hunbats. I prefer Crusher on gods like Robin. We see a good pluck come out from Mr. Pants. Visions uses his beads. We see a Discordia ult come out of it. Earl, we see Sham ults. Earl uses his beads, and they don't want to drop this. Visions goes in again. That's both Hunbats ultimates. One of them is Morgan, of course. Thunderfant wants to go pick up Sham. He wants to chase this kill straight into the ultimate. And Fant is successful. Unstoppable now, 7-0. Once again, making a huge impact. See a pull from Pant onto Isla. Isla just jumps out onto Jing. It's going to be a very hard target to lock down. And all in all, so 1-for-1.
I'd like to have seen Hunbats go for maybe a physical defense item of some kind. I feel like Hunbats is really only dying to the Sun Wukong, Cupid, and Camazotz so far. So I would have liked to see maybe grab a little bit. Maybe he will right here, but we just saw again Thunderfant's 3-level lead, and he cleans up.
In the meantime, Prime is split pushing this T2. Looks like we have a bit of a fight come out. I see Tiger come out from Dank straight onto the Hachi. Hachi barely escapes. Vision goes for a stun, and ASU is just going to try to disengage here. But Guan Yu is stuck in the back. Revolution is fighting 3. And we see Bull come out, but they cannot lock down this Odin, a very tanky target. But we do see Prime come in with the ultimate. Bit of a waste there, but it does manage to take out Revolution to use his ultimate as well. Ult for ult, all in all. But Fant is still lurking. He managed to hit the 2. That means Morgan cannot invis right now. He decides to go up into the cloud and chase it. Revolution and Morgan are very low. Hunbats comes out onto Thunderfant to try to get the kill, and we get sniped by the Discordia ult, and Dank finishes off the 2 low HP targets in the back that were Sham and Revolution.
Man, it was unfortunate for Visions. He just got his ult back and he turned into the Hunbats. But then Dankshaw managed to hit the Magic Cudgel, and that was it for Visions. He didn't get to even use the Hunbats ult.
We're going to see a mid-Phoenix pressure. I don't think there's anything ASU can do at this point. Looks like Isla might die just to the damage, and he does. And now we see Hachi just trying to escape with his life, but Camazotz doesn't want to let that happen. He misses the 2, but finishes it off with autos.
They might be able to end here.
It looks like they're going to try for sure. Vision is up in 5, but does not have ultimate, so we could not see another Fear No Evil come out. He's going to try, but he's just going to get taken out. Manages to live, actually, and Sham comes in, as does Revolution. They managed to pick up 2, but Titan was
isn't.
just not healthy enough. And ASU Black is going to go down. Santa Monica takes the set 2-0.
Nah, I mean, that was just the sort of game that seemed even. It was only a 3K gold lead, and then you win one fight, you make a somewhat poor Phoenix defense, and you lose the game off of it in just 22 minutes. I mean, it's somewhat funny how Santa Monica amassed this huge lead in game one, and then ASU managed to drag it out to 35 minutes or so. But when the game's even, ASU loses in 22 minutes. I don't know what they should have done.
It just shows you how fast the game can turn on its head. Really, it started with Santa Monica getting that first Pyromancer, which they quickly followed up by a Gold Fury, and just off that lead, they managed to snowball pretty hard. And ASU just made some mistakes. I still think ASU had a terrific comp, and a lot of this came out from Thunder fans piloting this Camazotz 10-0. Huge damage, I believe. 16k. That's about side with his solo laner, and considering Wukong was smacking its Revolution the whole game, that's pretty terrific. And it's interesting that player damage is actually pretty low across the rest of the board for Santa Monica. Only 7k on Cupid, although that's still more than double what Red Vulcan did on Hachi.
Yeah, Red
7,000 for his mid laner.
Red Vulcan just did not have the opportunity to get out to a. He didn't get the opportunity to really show what Hachiman can do in these late game team fights. When the game doesn't go to late game, that's sort of what happens. But he just seemed to be playing a little bit scared. He had to play really far back because his front line was dying really quickly, and because his jungle, and jungle and mid laner were both diving the back line. He was just sort of left alone in the back line, and that's probably why he didn't do much damage.
I still think ASU had a better team fight comp, and we saw it multiple times. The double Hunbat's ultimate followed up by Jing, but they just seem to have the answer, Santa Monica, and they pulled the victory. And I think we're going to take a break here.
No, I think that actually will do it for the day. That was the second set, and we managed to see two good ones between Georgia Tech and CSU, and now we had another fun one in between ASU and Santa Monica. But Santa Monica and Georgia Tech won it, both in 2-0s, and that was it for AVGL this week, or today.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching.
Put in work on it.